Okay, everyone, let's get back started with the program here. Just a moment, we'll be bringing up Representative Ed Diehl. Representative Ed Diehl is the president of Oregon Freedom Coalition. Representative Diehl spearheaded the no tax referendum. Thank you so much, sir, for doing that. He collected over 250,000, or collected around 250, was it over 250? Over 250. No. He didn't do it by himself, he says. That's very self-effacing, all right. Collecting over 250,000 signatures from Oregonians. Representative Diehl is also a gubernatorial candidate running to stand up for our neighbors, our businesses, and our values. Ed and his wife, Jamie, built an engineering business from the ground up. He spent his career making American manufacturing businesses more innovative and efficient. Please welcome Representative Ed Diehl.
All right, thank you. It's great to be back with you guys. What a beautiful day out there, too. Man. Well, hey, yes, I am, among many other hats, I'm president of the Oregon Freedom Coalition. Yes. And our Freedom Coalition, Nick Stark and I started. Nick, where's Nick? Our executive director. There he is right there. We started, this is what happens when you sit down and have a glass of whiskey with somebody else after an event. But we started Oregon Freedom Coalition to create a grassroots movement in this state to take back Oregon. Because what I see in that legislature is day after day, they are passing bills that I know are not popular with the Oregon people. And you go, how can that be? How can that be? And bills that are popular don't see the light of day. And that is because too many Oregonians are not paying attention. That's it. It's simple as that. And I know that because I was one of them. For years, I came to Oregon. I grew up in western Montana on a cattle ranch. My dad was a logger and a truck driver. And I moved here because my wife, Jamie, right there, she's from Scio. So this is the state that we chose to raise our family in. We love this state. But I built a business here. I made a safe home for my family. I was doing my thing. I was paying attention to what was happening in local politics. I was not paying attention, or national politics. I was not paying attention to what was happening locally. And while I'm not paying attention locally, people that don't align with my values have taken over our government at every level. Because we're just working, doing our thing. You guys here, you're more informed. You're more aware than the average voter. You got to realize that. So our job is to reach out to those folks that are not paying attention. The 120,000 Republicans that didn't vote in the last gubernatorial election. Probably the 120,000 non-affiliated voters that are conservative-minded that aren't voting. The thing is, we know who they are. We know where they live. I think we know how many pets they have, right? Right, Nick? Our job with our grassroots machine is to reach those voters and get them to vote. This is how we take back our state. This is how we take it back. And nothing highlighted that more than the transportation tax and fee referendum. We've got a governor that, despite overwhelming opposition, rammed this bill through after 3 attempts and an emergency session. What kind of a governor openly defies the will of her own people? A governor that shows total disdain for her own people. It's unbelievable. But in her view, she's a bureaucrat. She's been doing this for years. This is the routine. You appease the special interest groups and the power players, the ones that funded your campaign, the ones that are in that building all the time, and that's what she did. She appeased the public sector union, the SEIU. While I'm filing complaints against them, she's appeasing them. She silenced any of the special interests that might have taken a position against the referendum. By putting a little bit in the bill here, a little bit there, to get him to at least neutral or soft negative. She thought she'd done her job. It didn't matter. It did not matter what the Oregon people thought, because she'd appease the special interests. And that just pisses me off. So I jumped at the opportunity to be a chief petitioner on this referendum. And I jumped at the opportunity to lead the grassroots effort on it because I knew where the Oregon people were at. And for me, it was the opportunity I had been waiting for to highlight what's going on in that building to all of Oregon. And it's not an isolated incident. To highlight what's going on to all of Oregon, that we have a governor with extreme views. She is not representing the best interests of the Oregon people. And if we can wake people up, and that's what we did with that referendum, 250,000 of you signed that. By the way, it said November on each petition, not May. But 250,000 of you signed that. That was Republicans, Democrats, non-affiliated voters, libertarians, Constitution Party voters. They not only signed it, they helped us. And I know many of you here volunteered on that effort, and thank you. To me, that is how we take back our state. So if we can keep that momentum up through the May primary and on to November, we're going to have a Republican governor for the first time in 40 years. We will take back several House seats and Senate seats that we've lost. We lost a House seat by 164 votes just north of Salem in the Woodburn area. 164 votes. That lady, what? Don't believe it. Well, that's what I don't believe it. But we lost that by that much. She's now a socialist. She joined the Democrat Socialists of America. We have to get her out of office. But this is how we can do it. We overwhelm them with votes. And we can do it despite the flaws we have in the election, our election system. The way I see it, I don't like these rules, but I'm going to play by the rules, and I'm going to win, and then I'm going to change the rules. And that's how we're going to do it. So in addition to the referendum, what's going on now? So the governor, so she openly defied us. She cut the time window in half to sign the petition, right? She did that because she was guaranteed by all the power players, all the political players, that it was impossible for us to do this with volunteers. It was impossible. And she cut the time in half, being told, guaranteed, they can't do it. They can't do it. Just open disdain for Oregonians. But we proved her wrong. We're going to have a chance to do it again. Because what happened in this last session is Senate Bill 1507. Senate Bill 1507 disconnected us from the federal tax code. So what President Trump did with the big, beautiful bill is implemented a bunch of tax cuts, a bunch of tax breaks at the federal level. Our state tax code echoes that. So if the feds don't tax tips, the state doesn't tax tips. If the Fed doesn't tax overtime, the state doesn't tax overtime. So what the state did at the governor's direction is disconnect us from a few key areas. One key area is if you buy a new American car, you can write off your interest on the loan. Governor Kotek took that away for your state taxes. Also, if you own a business and you want to invest in that business in equipment or property or assets, you could accelerate the depreciation on that business. The whole idea was to incentivize growth and create jobs. Governor Kotek took that away too. While she's traveling around in her prosperity tour, talking to businesses about how can we help incentivize business to come to Oregon, well, why don't you veto the stupid bill you just rammed through the legislature? So Senate Bill 1507 passed the House, but before it passed on the floor of the House, all of us good Republicans voted no, by the way. But I told them on the floor, I said, if you pass this bill, we're going to refer it to. And this one's going to be on the ballot in November. And you can go and justify your vote to all those people in November why you passed a $300 million some million dollar tax hike on Oregonians, because that's exactly what it is. There were audible groans in the building. If you look at the video, one of my Democrat colleagues puts his head in his head in his hands. But that is an opportunity that we're going to have pretty soon when she eventually signs that bill and she's dragging her feet on it. We're hoping that the Freedom Coalition with the No Tax Oregon machine can get fired up, refer that one to voters, along with other petitions to kill the death tax. Representative Mannix has a petition to kill the death tax. We have one of the most punitive estate taxes in the country. We can kill that. We will bring a petition to end or vote before tolls, to require a vote of the people before tolling highways. And the other one is a crime-fighting bill, which is to basically reverse a lot of the catch and release laws that were put in a few years ago. So the No Tax Oregon machine is getting fired up. I'm hoping a lot of you are willing to have the same success that we had the last go around. And we're going to show the governor and the Democrat leadership that we're not messing around. We're serious. So, am I done? I got 15 minutes.
You're done.
Yeah, okay, I got my own timer here. Okay, so no problem. I thought, what happened? So we are very excited about this. We're hoping that we can get people fired up and rally around this cause. It makes the Democrats nervous. It really does. They don't like seeing regular Oregonians weigh in. It really bothers them. And you got to wonder why. Why? So we got to keep it up, and it'll keep them in line. And every time they bring some nasty bill, we will be there to refer it. Plus, there's some other things we want to do in the future that are constitutional changes, to redefine a tax and a fee, because that always gets messed around. There's a few other things we want to do. If we can rally around that each time we need it and rapidly get these things on the ballot, this is how we take back our state. I did want to touch on something. I was asked to touch on this because I know it's a hot topic and a sensitive topic, and it has to do with vote by mail and what my personal position is on that. So I want to make something really clear on that. First off, I would love nothing more than to return to vote by mail. I would love to go with my... Oh, no, sorry. Other way. I would love to go back. I would love nothing more than to go back to in-person voting and take my grandsons with me to show them what civic responsibility is like and do that. I would love to do that. What I am promoting right now is some things that we brought. Where's Representative Yunker right there? We brought some legislation to do this, and much of it is part of the Save America Act, which I support. But voter ID, cleaning up our voter rolls. We're in violation of federal law with our voter rolls. Proving U.S. citizenship, reforming our ballot harvesting rules. We're the Wild West when it comes to ballot harvesting. Let's just look at how some other states limit that and limit it. And the other thing that I'm promoting is full transparency of the election process we have right now. And yes. And by that I mean, this is the educational piece. We have to let Oregonians know what chain of custody means. A lot of them don't even know what that means when we talk about it. What does churn on the voter rolls mean? They don't understand that. What does it mean when we start talking about how signature verification works? These are things we need to do to educate voters. And the reason I'm taking this approach is because if you ask voters today if they want to end vote by mail, they would say no, because Oregonians are accustomed to vote by mail. I doubt this crew wants to keep it. But if you ask the regular Oregonian, the majority of Oregonians would say, you know, we're accustomed to it, we like it, we want to keep it. So what I'm looking at is what's a strategic approach to hit the goal, and that's like I lay out. Let's do what we can to make immediate improvements in election integrity. voter ID, clean the voter rolls, proof of U.S. citizenship, ballot harvesting, and get true transparency through the process so we can educate voters and they can make an educated decision about, you know, I thought I liked that, but there's real problems with this chain of custody. And how come the state can update voter rolls overriding what the county clerk's doing? And the signature verification thing, how does this work? So I want to make it clear, that's where I'm coming from. And there's a lot of misinformation out there about my position. So I hope that clarifies it. I got 45 seconds to answer any questions. But if I don't have, yes.
Yeah, and then you know, overall, as far as the county clerk's office, we always have we're worried that when the same thing is through the county clerk's office, if we can start at the local level and you can make sure that all of them have the same integrity, because some of them do, some of them just don't.
Yes, and so at the same time, I don't want state level control. You know, if you want a system that's hard to rig, have it highly decentralized. So I like local control. And if it's locally controlled, then you have control over who runs it. You can go in there and monitor it. That's what we want. I've seen some, I met with Dr. Frank here a couple weeks ago. He was showing me a photo of a clerk's office, and I'm almost done here. He showed me a photo of a clerk's office where the whole thing had cameras all through the office. So when the tallying was taking place, cameras were everywhere. And then there was a sitting room with monitors. So you could see, it's like you were standing right over the person counting. That kind of transparency is great, and it's cheap. The technology is really cheap to do that. And obviously what he was describing to me wasn't in Oregon, it was some other state. But there's no reason, if we have that local control and that local influence, we can demand that to be in our own clerk's office. With that, thank you very much. Let's take back Oregon.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Representative Diehl. Fantastic. So real quick, before we get into, we're going to be bringing in Senator Noah Robinson, Representative Dwayne Yunker, and Representative Alek Skarlatos in just a moment. Real quick, though, I wanted to point this out. I was given this flyer. This is a gift certificate for the Grants Pass Golf Club, and it's for this 2026 Patriots Conference. This is a silent auction item back there. It's 4 18-hole rounds of golf with the golf cart. You don't have to walk the whole thing, so look at that. It's valid Friday through Thursday after 12, and Wednesdays and Thursdays after 1:30. And no one has bid on this yet. So be the first bidder, and that's the best bidder if you're the only one. So it's a $220 value, $320 value. So we need some patriots to step up. Maybe some of the representatives that are here, guest speaking or something. Anyway, I'm putting them on the spot. We know they don't get paid. So anyway, don't forget, silent auction items are back there. This one is one of those items. Okay, so all right, so it's my great pleasure, honestly, sincerely, to introduce 3 legislators here in Oregon who will give us an update on what's going on in Salem. Each one of them is going to give their 5 minutes, just a little 5-minute update, and then I'll open it up into a question and answer time. So we have time for you to ask them those questions. So if Senator Robinson, Representative Yunker, Representative Skarlatos come up, you can have a seat right here. Of course, sometimes there's phone calls coming in. Oh, yes. Thank you. Okay. Just a second here. We'll give them some microphones.
Go first, then Yunker. You can stand up when you're talking.
Good.
Are you live? Okay, there you go. Senator Robinson.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here with all of you. I want to tell you, I can talk about, I think most of you know me. I'm the senator up there, and we do our best to fight for you, and as Ed Diehl mentioned, it's rough up there right now. I wanted to say I really enjoyed Gregory Wrightstone's talk, the way he laid out the data on the whole CO2 climate change issue. And this is a very important issue. They're trying, they're currently proposing, it's not a proposal they say, but we're not going to meet our CO2 targets. They want to cut down on how much meat we eat. I mean, they're actually talking about this. We're going to all be vegetarians. This is the way to meet these targets, which is not going to do anything. So I have presented data like he's presented, the storm data and so forth up there to them in great detail. And nobody wants to argue with me. I've told them, let's have a scientific discussion. I thought I had one. One representative said, hey, the storms are getting worse. I've got data. I said, come see me. Well, he was busy and he couldn't find his data, and hopefully we'll get there some way. But I would like to talk specifically right now, one thing that really bothers me up there. The whole ODOT tax increase has come out of basically the claim that ODOT needs more money. And they need more money, not because we're building more bridges and roads, but because everything costs too much. Everything the government does costs too much. Every project, it's like 10 times. There are flower gardens. They spent $600 million on the Capitol, and I calculated the 2 flower gardens were $24 million. Together, 12 million each. Yeah, 12 million each. So it's insane. Everything costs way too much. We calculated on the Abernathy Bridge, which it has been a big high-profile project that went from a couple $100 million update to an $800 million project. They spent $47 million just on engineering. That's 300 of the best engineers for a whole year. How they allocated it, I don't know. It wasn't on engineering. A couple of engineers could have figured out what they're doing, and a couple more could have checked them. It's not that hard if you look at what they're doing. Everything costs too much money. And then they come to us and they say last year that the Courier was complaining, hey, your representatives aren't bringing enough money to your district for these special projects. And of course, usually it's biased against us because we're voting conservative, and we do have. I'm really happy. Ed Diehl's fantastic, and Dwayne and Alek are fantastic representatives to work with. They're doing an excellent job for you up there. But they were attacking us over this, and we say, well, wait a second. We spend up in Salem for every district, every Senate district, almost $5 billion per biennium, and they're going to send a couple million back. It's 1/1000th of it, and then we get to have a huge hue and cry over it. But we have, for example, the Spalding Park. We actually got $2 million for that project. And it's an important project. What they want to do is it just has to do with getting the sewage into our sewage treatment plant. And what's been proposed is a great idea. But we're talking about a 6-foot diameter pit that's 16 feet deep and a pump and some piping that doesn't cost more than $50,000. Yet because of the way it's being handled at the state and because of the rules, it's $4 million. So we're getting 1/1000th of our money back, and then we're wasting 90% of it because of state rules and because of the way everything's handled. So the problem with the government is how they're spending your money, not whether they have enough of it. And the solution is always easier. It's always easier to come back for more. I was 3 days ago. I was meeting with a man I'd never met before in Texas. He was an older man. When he was in his 20s, he had a lower level job working just to tally tickets on a very large construction project. And he discovered that they were reporting that they had moved dirt they hadn't moved to the tune of it was several $1 million. So he went to his boss and he said, look, I've calculated it. The amount of dirt is not equal to the tickets. They're taking our money. His boss says, go recheck it. So he rechecks it. And his boss says, okay. They take it to the upper officials who are working directly with the legislature. This is another state in the 1960s. 4 officials come to see him and say, come talk to his boss. And his boss comes out and says, well, we can't talk about it. They told us if we talk about it anymore, none of us will ever be able to work in the state again. And it's sort of funny. I'm talking to an 80-year-old man who's telling me, in my 20s, we thought we would be heroes. But we were too afraid we would not be able to support our families, so we had to shut up. And to whatever level this is going on in the state, I don't think it's quite as blatant as that now, but I think it's worse. everything costs too much money, and the state's wasting your money. So we'll work on that. Thank you.
Representative Dwayne Yunker.
I don't think I have to introduce myself, but I'm going to actually key off of some of what he just said, because our budget biannually is $140 billion. $140 billion for biennium, which is 2 years. That's $70 billion per year. And we have grown double in 10 years. 10 years, we've doubled our use of your tax dollars. And so when I look at the government and says, oh, we need more money, we need to tax you more, we know that's wrong, because we can look at other states and say, well, what's another state that's got the same amount of population? We actually have a low population of just over 4 million people. What are they spending? They're spending 20 to 30 billion less than we are biannually. So we know we have a problem here. It's a spending problem. And that's why when you look at our record, we're always voting no for spending. We don't want to spend more money. We want to get rid of these bad bills. We want to get rid of this socialism type of government that is happening in Salem. I'm not for the giveaways. We have to get back to saying, no, we can't spend this money. This is your money. And so when you see these attacks, of course they want to attack us because, yeah, we're saying no because the spending's too much. And we see these bills after bill after bill. And then the new one is not a tax, it's a fee. A fee. Well, a fee to me is another tax. It's just another way of taxing you with a new fee. Can you imagine if we got rid of all our fees? You know, we would probably have a lot more money. We could all go out to dinner tonight to a fancy restaurant. But the ODOT tax bill that we stopped here, and I'm part of the Oregon Freedom Coalition is that's about $500 back in your pocket per year, per family, about an average. Some is gonna be more, some might be a little less. That's a stop right there. And then when Representative Diehl was talking about 1507, that is again another more taxes for you guys, businesses. Every business you look in is hurting right now in this state. And in Josephine County, go downtown. Look how many empty buildings there are right now. Those are mom and pop businesses, manufacturing. We need jobs here. That's the stuff that I want to fight for every day. That's when I'm up there in session. And we spent the short session. Anybody know what the short session is? It's supposed to be a rebalancing of the budget. It's 5 weeks of, I call it hell. And we're supposed to be rebalancing the budget, but we didn't balance the budget this time. We spent more time with bills that had to do with ICE. ICE has nothing to do, that's a federal issue. I don't even know, you know what I mean, 6, 7, 8 bills about ICE. I don't know how much time I have left. And then we have all these other social issues that have nothing to do with us down here. That's all they want to talk about, is instead of what's good for Oregonians. And that's, for me, is my priority, is fighting back against the ideology that's coming out of Salem. And I've been known to be a fighter. I'm going to keep fighting up there. And as long as I'm up there, that's what I'm going to do for everybody in Josephine County. Just going to let you know that. But I was able to make some headway. We did get a few dollars back. I call it a few dollars because if you average it out, $2 million per resident in Josephine County, that's only $25 of each of you. So I don't think that's enough. But again, if we give us some billions of our dollars back, we'd be prosperous and we'd all be functioning like our schools. We spend more on schools than, and guess what? It's not the school's fault. I really don't believe it is. It's the mandates coming out of Salem that you must do. It's the mandates. You must do this. You must do that. You must have this class. You must do that. That's why things cost too much money, is the mandates coming out of Salem. And I don't know how much time I have left. 1.5 minutes. I've never been on, it's like speed dating.
You're doing great, Dwayne.
Yeah, great. And now we're going to answer some questions here. We've had some good bills. We had a good bill this, 2 good bills this session I want to talk about. One is I met a kid named Caleb out of Grants Pass High School. I've had an incident, I know I spoke about this before. It's about AED. I've had to use AED on a plane that didn't work. And so to me, when this high schooler came to me and said, hey, we need to strengthen our rules inside the high schools about our cardiac arrest, and I went to the program, we were lacking. I said, we need to improve this. So I worked with Caleb and his mom. We passed a bill to strengthen, because schools are not just for kids. Who else goes there? We have people, we have plays there, we have music there, we have other things going on. Grandparents go there, teachers work there. We have 8 AEDs in the building where we work at in Salem. We have 1 in a school. It didn't seem right to me. So I was able to pass it. Everybody voted yes with me except one person, which in the House and the Senate, which is, for me, is pretty exciting to have that many people go along with you. And another bill that I co-sponsored, I was really excited about, is the Veterans Crisis. And that one is to look at our veterans. You know, I spent 21 years in the military. I got 1 minute, or I'm done.
That's not, but finish.
Okay. I'm a veteran. I know Skarlatos is Skarlatos, and we've had many friends that are still suffering from PTSD and things like that. And I wanted to continue to strengthen our veterans crisis laws, and I'm real happy at 4099. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Representative Alek Skarlatos.
So my name is Alek Skarlatos. I've run for a lot of things before. I'm sure some of you know me from my congressional run. Finally got elected last year as my first full 2 years in the state legislature. I'm running for my first re-election now. And one of the things, I know they already kind of beat it to death, but the amount of money that we spend in the state of Oregon, if we had just, they talked about it doubling in the last 10 years, which is true, but a lot of the money that we get is money that we get from the federal government that is then given to the state for the state to disperse. If we would go back to the 2001 level of government in Oregon, you would pay zero taxes, zero. It would all come from the federal government. We could fund the entire state of Oregon with federal dollars if we just went back to 2001 level of government, which I think all of us would be very comfortable with. I mean, you're talking no income tax, no gas tax, no taxes or fees in the state of Oregon if we would just go back to that. So the amount of government growth that has happened recently has really been to our detriment. It's slowing down the economy. Noah and I actually were having a conversation with a Democrat at a dinner, and we couldn't get it through their heads that when you tax people, this money is coming out of the economy. It's making, not only is it a drag because it goes to the state of Oregon, which then creates more regulation and hoops you have to jump through, but it's coming directly out of the economy. That's money that could create jobs and businesses and create more wealth for the citizens of Oregon that would then go and pay taxes and create more wealth for the state of Oregon. But unfortunately, we don't even let it get that far. So on that note, I actually don't have a primary opponent or a general election opponent in this next election. So I'm free to do whatever I want. So you guys better, everyone better watch out. So I wanted to talk about some of the other people. We've got some great governor's candidates here. David Medina, he's been at almost every single event. I've been watching him on social media. He shows up at everything. Edtl, of course, we work with in the legislature. He's a great friend, very conservative, solid choice as well. These guys, luckily down here, we're represented by some of the most conservative people in the House and the Senate. I mean, we literally fight all the time over who has the most conservative voting record. And then we debate what that means. And, you know, it's the three of us. We got Virgil Osborne. We've got Darren Harbick. I'm probably missing one or two people, but we've got a really good conservative bunch in Southwestern Oregon. In fact, we're so conservative that Yunker is getting primaried from the left in a Republican primary, which almost never happens. And it's really hard to pull off, but I think Yunker's going to be fine, but make sure you support him as well. But I just wanted to reiterate that's extremely rare, and that just proves how conservative you guys are. And I really appreciate it because when you go up to Salem, you're getting polled, you're getting talked to by lobbyists, you're getting talked to by Democrats, other Republicans who want you to kind of compromise on a piece of legislation so you can get more money for your district, or because that's really what it comes down to is they know Republicans are going to vote no. So they try to, I don't want to say buy you off because that sounds corrupt, but they try to incentivize you with money for your district. And they say, oh, well, if you vote yes on this, you know, it's more likely that this project will go through, or we'll look kindly upon your other bill that then does this for your district. And so it's a lot of horse trading, and having groups like this keep us accountable is probably the best way to ensure that your state representatives stay conservative and stay representing your voice and what you actually believe. So I just wanted to say thanks so much. You got people like Holly here. You got people that always, several of you I recognize who always come up to Salem and yell at us and try to make sure that we stop what the Democrats are trying to do to us. But at the end of the day, we can be the most conservative people in the world, but we're still in the super minority. We need to flip some of these seats. There's a competitive state Senate race in Jackson County. We need to flip that seat. We got a couple north of us that are competitive for the House. We just need more Republicans. We can worry about making sure they vote conservative later, but in the meantime, we got to flip these seats, because any Republican, I have tons of problems with other Republicans in the legislature, but they're still a hell of a lot better than a Democrat. And if we don't have a majority, or even just get out of the superminority, we can't stop even the most egregious tax bills. I mean, you guys saw what they did with the gas tax. Diehl did all this work. You all did a bunch of, I'm getting timed out already? Okay, shoot, I went on longer than I thought. But we did all this work, gathered all these signatures. The referendum said we're gonna push it to November, and the Democrat supermajority said, no, you can do a referendum, but we're just gonna veto that anyway, and we're gonna have the election in May. So we have zero power to really stop anything unless we actually walk until we get out of a superminority. So I just want to thank you all for the work that you do. Please keep it up, keep holding us accountable, and just want to say thanks to these guys. They do a fantastic job, and thanks for having us.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so what we have, just a few more minutes of their time and our time. We do have some time for Q&A. So does anyone have a question for any one of them? Mariah? Yes, here's a microphone.
Okay, so, in Salem, they ignore you, they ignore us, it seems like all the time. Is there a tactic that is more effective for us citizens to help support you in Salem, help get our voice heard? It doesn't seem like writing in public comments does anything, but if we actually go up there and speak, or what can we do to help support you?
Yeah, great question. I think I'll let these guys add on to it, but I think the best thing you can do is, on specific bills that you have a problem with, show up and testify against them. I know it's a huge pain in the butt to drive up to Salem, but if you actually show up and testify, that's where you have a panel, like a committee of legislatures hearing a bill, and you're getting to speak to all of them all at once and in person, which always means a lot more. We get tons of emails, we get tons of phone calls, and frankly, we don't know if they're coming from the district, we don't know if they're coming from union members in Portland, we don't know the full context, but if you show up and say, this is where I live, this is who I am, this is how this bill is going to hurt me in my way of life, that's frankly the best thing we can do to actually get our message through the thick skulls of some of these Democrats.
And I'd have to concur with that. We are at a disadvantage. We are 3 hours or more from Salem here. They can show up from Portland or Salem any day they want and be on our doorstep. They can bring in flyers, walk this. They're activists that are there every day, wearing their T-shirts or whatever wherever their agenda is. And for you to be seen, you have to enter that building and walk the hall, walk the floors, and get in front of the faces of the Democrats. That's what you have to do, because that's what they do to us. Their activists are coming in front of us, and they're dropping off their flyers. They're testifying. They're filling the committee hearing rooms and showing up every day. And I know that is a disadvantage for us, but we have to do that. And that's just not Josephine County. That's Jackson County, Douglas County, everywhere in the state of Oregon. Republicans have to show up and stop letting Democrats show up over there and dictating what's going on. But I'll leave it at that. There's a lot more things we could do.
Yeah, of course I agree that you just have to make your voice heard as well as possible. They do count emails, they do count testimony. The in-person ones have a little more weight. If you can't do that, the ones by video conference are not bad. But it does bother them when people oppose their legislation. On some things like the gas tax, they were gonna do it, they wanted to do it, they just ignored everybody. On sort of lesser issues, they will pay attention more. And I know there's discussions, they do count these things, so yeah, just make your voice heard everywhere you can. It definitely helps.
Okay, great. Anyone else have a question? Yeah, Patrick?
If the other side by our courthouse can have a No Kings rally, we'd have to have security, but we should have a vote in person. If the other side can have a no Kings rally at our courthouse, we'd need security. If we had a vote in-person rally at the courthouse. That's my thought.
Okay, thank you for the input. No, that's good. Yes, up here in the front.
Might be a fun one. So who's the most inhumane liberal that each one of you has had to deal with?
You know, the crazy thing is that most of the legislators up there I like personally. They're just extremely misguided, and they won't listen to facts, and they fall to the party agenda. I mean, we could pick the one that's caused the most trouble. There are people up there that are hated, but it's really weird. It's a legislatus. It's something they get infected by the building. They get infected by what their party wants them to do. We have Republicans that don't vote the way they should vote. That's always frustrating. And the Democrats, I mean, you're talking to nice people who are doing stupid things, and you try to argue facts, and sometimes you can persuade them a little bit, but it is just amazing, because I think that legislation, I don't go at all with this idea that you should compromise and make deals, because we will never win by voting for things we don't believe in because we got it halfway there. Argue and try to get it halfway there and still say it's not good enough. Thanks for improving it, but we're still voting against it. That's what we need to do.
I'll give you my 2 cents here. You got to understand what happens on the floor for votes for Democrats. Now, they're very controlled of how they vote. They count their votes. They will secure the room, and they don't let people leave. They want to make sure every one of their bills passes. If a bill comes to the floor, 99.9% of the time it's going to pass. This year we did kill a bill in the House for the first time in my 3rd session there. But that never happens. It actually killed and it never came back. Because usually what they'll do is if we do kill it, they'll bring it back the next day and they twisted the arms of other Democrats to vote for it. Because if they don't vote, they will lose their gavel. What a gavel is a chair of a committee, or they'll lose their vice chair, or they'll primary them, or they'll take money away from them somehow. They will do things to their people up there. They control them. If you watch the floor votes, it's very obvious they're counting votes. And it's a very, I don't know how you say it, but it is their art, what they do. They have to vote, and they only let certain people on controversial bills vote no because they want to protect them from certain areas. But if you want to turn I think would be Representative Nelson. He's probably the most radical of all the radicals. He's a Democratic socialist, and he likes all the trans and all the crazy things they do to children and stuff like that. And he had the black drag queens come on the floor last year.
Yeah, and I think each one of us, I don't know about Noah, he's too friendly, but I think every one of us has like an arch nemesis, a Democrat counterpart. And for me, it's probably Jeff Kropf, because he runs all the gun bills every year. And I have an FFL, I'm incredibly pro-gun, I have a shooting range on my property. And I always show up to testify against the gun bills, and it's always something run by Jeff Kropf. And he always tries to cross-examine me, and it doesn't usually work out for him. But again, at the end of the day, he has the votes, and I don't. But yeah, you ask every legislator, and they might not say it publicly, but they all have their arch nemesis on the other side of the aisle. Good question.
Okay, hey, Victoria, how are we doing on time?
If you want them to be in the VIP area, it's probably about time to wrap it up, but we could go for another 10 minutes.
Okay, I have at least one more question here. I just want to double check. Thanks. Judy?
You know, you were mentioning the far left that comes up there and does crazy things to you, the far left public. How much are those identified as your public union teachers? Because they stay together, or they're glued, and they seem like they're more mobile to be able to make it up to Salem to do their stuff. So I was just trying to understand what's the category of people that are coming up there, they're off the cliff.
Yeah, unions are a big one, but it depends on what bills are coming up. Sometimes if it's, a tax for whomever, hospitals, then they'll have a bunch of doctors and nurses come up and tell you why you should vote for this tax. It's issue specific. But I would say that unions, specifically public sector unions like teacher unions, they are the ones that hold all the power. They're the ones that get the Democrats elected. If they want a bill to pass, it's going to pass, because if the Democrats don't vote for it, they'll get primaried, they'll lose their reelection, and that's who we really have to blame. It's tough because you almost can't blame the Democrats for having these terrible votes. And some of them will even tell you, oh, I really didn't want to vote for that bill. I was a no, but I had to because the unions basically twist their arm. So in that regard, they're not making their own decisions. And so you almost can't blame them for some of their terrible votes. They're just bought out, which is a whole different story. But anyway.
Yeah, I would look at the OR Star. If you don't know what OR Star is, just follow the money. You know, I would say that when we ask for money, it's usually from business people, lobbyists, business groups up there, Oregon Business Institute, small businesses, car dealerships, people that have a business. If you look at their side where they're getting their money, it's usually activist groups, a lot of union groups, a lot of these activist type groups, and funneling money. So if you watch the money flow, they're probably going to vote on a bill with this to happen, and then those unions of that group will funnel money back into the Democratic Party.
And keep in mind, the unions are getting paid from your tax dollars.
Yes.
So it's your tax dollars that are going to teachers who then give their money to their union, and their union distributes it to Democrat politicians to help them get reelected. So it's a giant cycle of basically self-rewarding each other.
I disagree slightly. I think we should blame them for their votes.
Yeah,
And,
that's right.
and he says I'm friendly, and it's true. I'm friendly with everybody, but I do have more. I think I got the record for no votes in the Senate both terms.
You did.
I
Linthicum
think
was a close second.
I think by a good margin. So I smile at them and be friendly with them and try to persuade them and then vote against them, and they have never persuaded me to vote for something I didn't believe in. I mean, a couple on minor bills, a couple things. Maybe I was wrong about that, but I mean, no. It's the unions, and it is true. When you see the unions come through the halls, there's a lot of them. The teachers' union is a big deal because it means money to them. It's money that's going into their pockets, your taxpayer dollars. They're well organized. The other side is very well organized. It's a fundamental problem that Republicans have is they just want to be, and conservatives, they just want to be left alone to be able to earn a living and do their own thing. And the other side wants to control us. So they're active because government's a big deal to them. So yes, there is a logistic problem that is very hard to get the rural people to Salem. You hold these rallies, and the conservatives are going to hold a rally, and you get 50 people, and you say, that's nice. And then the other side comes in with 500, and a lot of that's, they bust them in, they organized, and we're trying to decide whether we can drive out from Grants Pass.
All right, very good. We have, I think, one more question. Richard Emmons, perfect.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming today. As you know, House Bill 3115 affects cities like Grants Pass and the enforcement of keeping the parks clean and affecting law enforcement against homeless, especially drug addicts. That affects little cities like Grants Pass, but it also affects cities like Portland that are larger. And my question to you three would be for the legislators that are from Portland and from Salem, do they feel the pressure from people in their communities to try to repeal that law?
I'm sorry, but Senator Meek so last year I tried to repeal 3115. This year, Senator Meek tried to. So Senator Meek is a Democrat. If you don't know who Senator Meek is, he's a Democrat. He had a bill to repeal this. He knows how bad it is. But guess who shut him down? Portland. Portland put pressures on the Democrats in the Senate to not have a hearing for his bill. That's how. So when you hear someone say, I'm running for office, and they go, well, I'm going to repeal 315, I kind of laugh and giggle because guess what? You don't know the power from the other side. The other side has to be changed. We need a Republican governor to push back. That's how we change things, because if we could start taking a House or the Senate, then they have to work with us, or they have to work governorship, because guess what? If they don't work with our Republican governor, we just veto all their bills. We get rid of all their crappy bills. So we have to win something, one of those places to take back. Democrats know 315 is bad, but you can blame the governor because that is her bill. That's what she passed in 2021, and you can blame Pam Marsh in Ashland because she loves that bill, and she will not repeal that bill, and she will not let me have a hearing or anybody else because she loves that bill so much. So when anybody brings that from the Republican side, she doesn't even allow it to have a hearing because it goes to her committee. I'm sure I could add more. We could talk for hours about 315, how bad it is.
Yeah, well, part of the problem is that they actually have convinced themselves that all this drug addiction, they can fix it all. Just spend more tax money, spend billions and billions, and we will get people off drugs, because drug addiction is just a disease like every other. Now, we know that it's a powerful addiction. We know it's not easy to get off. But I think everybody knows that if the people don't want to get off, they will never get off. And you cannot spend enough money to solve a problem when we have, why can't we stop this flow of drugs onto the street? It's incredible. That's leading to the homelessness and everything else. And 3115, of course, is a disaster. But they are coming at it saying, yeah, we know it's a problem, but we just need to do more treatment. We just need to spend more money helping them. We just need to give away more of your tax money. And it doesn't matter how much we spend, it doesn't work, and then they just want more. It's their solution.
It also fills their coffers of their supporters too. You got to remember that money's going to their NGOs, which are non-governmental entities here. They're nonprofits, and it goes to them. Well, guess who supports them? These nonprofits. So it's a cycle of horrible dollars, of your tax dollars, going to these NGOs and then going back to their coffers. I look at it as just a horrible thing. This could be solved through and five. Homeless, I'm not going to say we're going to solve homelessness, but it doesn't need to be like this. We all know it's been better than this.
I just want to say one thing, and that is DCBS budget is like $700 million. That pretty much goes completely to homelessness. $700 million for all the money that we apparently don't bring back for our districts could go a long way. $700 million, if you take 1/36 of that, could do a hell of a lot for Josephine County.
Yeah, and I would like to make one more comment. The health authority, the division that's supposed to be funding all this drug treatment, they came before a committee, they were complaining that marijuana revenues were down, and that was going to impact their ability to fund drug treatment. I mean, it's just amazing. We're not getting enough drug money, so we can't fund the drug treatment.
That's crazy.
1/3 of your budget goes to the Oregon Health Authority.
One-third.
1/3. So that's $70 billion per year for $70 billion. $1/3 of that goes to the Oregon Health Authority. That's how much power the Oregon Health Authority has in the state. It's crazy. It's just powerful.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's give it up for these fine gentlemen. I'll take your microphones here. Thank you. You guys did great. Hey, if you want to head over to the VIP area, any VIPs want to talk to them for the next few minutes, that's great. Look at that. I've got 4 microphones. Extra power. Okay, so we're going to shift things around a little bit in the... Yes, thank you, Victoria, in the schedule. But we will be bringing up in just a moment David Medina. Just a moment. We're not taking a break. We'll take a small break right after David Medina, right before David Clements. And also, don't forget the 50-50 raffle. The 50-50 raffle, you buy a ticket for $1. You can buy 6 tickets for $5 right here with Victoria. Don't forget that. You do it. We're going to have to draw that raffle right after David Medina. So David Medina is going up right now in just 30 seconds. One ticket for $1. 6 tickets for $5. Okay, so David Medina, let me give you an introduction to him. Folks, David Medina is a lifelong Oregonian. He's a small business owner and a leading conservative voice in the Pacific Northwest. With a digital reach that spans millions worldwide, David has built a massive digital platform by delivering a bold, faith-centered message from one of America's most progressive regions, the Northwest. By the way, we are the most unchurched region in the United States. He's a frequent collaborator with national figures like Benny Johnson and PragerU, good old Dennis down there. David is now running for governor of Oregon in 2026 to break the cycle of leftist one-party rule. His campaign is built on a foundation of constitutional values, parental rights, and a commitment to restoring Oregon's economy for working families. He's a devoted father, a Christian man of faith. David lives in the Portland area, where he remains active in grassroots activism throughout the community. As governor, he will be focused on building a brighter future for the next generation of Oregonians. Please welcome David Medina. You need one of these.
Yes, I do. Thank you guys so much. Wait, is this even on? I don't think this is on.
Let me see.
Yeah, it's on. There you go. Check, check. There we go. How are we doing, guys? Man, you guys are all beautiful down here. Did you guys see the No Kings protesters in front of City? Is that City Hall? Yeah. Oh my goodness. We actually went and talked to a few of them, and I said, is anybody here interested in what's going on in Oregon? Everybody had a Trump sign. Everybody had Trump is fascist, all this kind of stuff. I said, anybody worried about Oregon? And it's incredible. I found one, actually. I found one person that was actually like, yeah, our state's not going in the right direction, and we got to do something. But most of them are just like, no, Trump, TDS, Trump this, Trump that. It's incredible. I mean, it's really incredible when you actually see up close the conditioning and the brainwashing that has happened in this state that has gotten people so focused on who's in the Oval Office while their state crumbles in front of them. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm running for governor. Am I supposed to say that, by the way? Can I say that? You can say that. Can say that, okay. This is funny. I haven't been in a position where we got to toe the line a little bit. It's okay. Hey, I love my state. Who else loves Oregon and ready to take it back? We ready to take our state back or what, man? My goodness. How much longer are we going to lose to the Democrats? How much longer are we going to be bullied by this political machine that is hell-bent on making sure that our lives are as miserable as possible while driving out businesses and families? We are over it. And that's what my campaign is about, is guys giving you a fighter that's actually ready to stand for you and courageously stand for you no matter what they throw at me. And they've already thrown a lot of stuff at me. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. How much time do we have? 15 minutes. So my name is David Medina, and I'm from Salem, Turner, Oregon. Grew up in a family of 10. My mother had 10 of us. I'm number 9. I'm the one that they just kind of turned on a TV show and just kind of threw me some food and said, just go be with, whatever. Didn't really pay attention to me. No, I'm just kidding. My parents were great Christian parents, taught me what it meant to live life, which is for the Lord. What God's trying to do in our country, what God's trying to do in Oregon is so much bigger than politics. How many of you believe that? Okay. All right. And so growing up in a family of 10, my mom passed back in 2024. And her and my father were married for 53 years. Just the most incredible people. And they made me who I was today. My dad worked it used to be called Wearmart Foods. Now it's Winco Foods. I don't know how he raised us 10 kids on a $16 an hour salary as a bulk foods department manager, but he did it. I went to school at North Salem High School in Cascade in Turner and graduated at North Salem in 2007. Had a daughter at age 18 and decided to take custody of her. I just will save some of the reasons why because I don't like to talk bad about her mom, who's wasn't in her life most of her life, still isn't. And so I raised her name's Savannah. She plays lacrosse. She goes to Sherwood High School. She's a senior. Can you believe I have an 18-year-old? I'm an 18-year-old. I can't believe it. I don't know where time went. She's the love of my life. I love Savannah. She's everything to me. My daughter, raised her mostly by myself, and very proud of that. And so I was telling my guy Travis over here, I was going to go into the Marines actually in 2007, and when she was born, God had other plans. So I went to George Fox University in 2017, graduated from George Fox with a degree in executive leadership, business management, and a minor in marketing. And so what did I do after that? Usually people say college. I know that saying out there that college is a scam. I don't think it's entirely a scam. It's only a scam if you allow yourself to get brainwashed and you allow yourself to become a political activist. Actually, I took a lot of good things out of college. I'm able to defend the faith a little bit more because of college, and able to talk to a Buddhist and a Hindu or people of other faiths, atheists. I've been able to talk to atheists and been able to talk to them about the Lord a little bit better than I used to be able to because of college. So college is not all the way a scam. In a lot of ways it is, though. And so graduated from there. I've worked as a counselor at McLaren Youth Correctional Facility. I've worked with youth my whole life. I've coached basketball. I've worked with youth with disabilities and troubled youth. It's one of my passions is working with youth and showing them that, hey, there is a better life no matter where you came from. And so after working, I started at my own company, Ease Marketing Group. If you guys want to go look it up, easemarkgroup.com. We do media management and marketing for companies. We used to work on campaigns and small businesses. Now we're more geared towards influencers across the nation like Benny Johnson, David Harris Jr., who is coming, by the way, on May 1st to Oregon. If you guys are interested and you want to come meet David Harris Jr., he's coming on May 1st. We're going to do an event with him. I've just been so blessed to be around the best people. Worked at PragerU in 2021, lived down in LA. Don't ask me that experience because I'm still recovering from it. Still in counseling from what I had to see in LA. A lot worse than Portland, let me tell you. And so why did I decide to jump in the race? I know a lot of you are wondering. And a lot of you guys have seen the stuff written on social media. Does he have the experience? He's too young. It's not his time. Listen, I've been working in politics in Oregon the last 8 years. I've worked on congressional campaigns. I've been a campaign manager. I know how the games work. Just because I'm not in the legislature, if that counts as political experience, I mean, how does that working out for our party now? And I'm not here to sow division. I'm here to unite. I have a lot of respect for the gentlemen that were up here, Alek Skarlatos, Dwayne Yunker, a lot of good, Senator Robinson. We have good people in the legislature. We really do. We really do. But my campaign, folks, is about fighting back with the strength and courage at the level that we need to be fighting at this day and age. We are at a different time in our state and in our country right now. The radical left has gone so far left. I mean, they're full-blown communists, and they're not even hiding it. They're actually proud of it. And I think it's about time that we put up a fighter that will match that energy, turn out people like I've been turning out on social media. I created my platform, my political platform. It's the largest one in Oregon, over 500,000 followers across all X, Facebook, Instagram. I encourage you guys to go follow me if you haven't already. And what we do is we just hit the streets of Portland with truth. We don't back down. We don't have to water down our truth, our values and our beliefs to appease people. We are done appeasing people. The day of working together with these radical extremists are over. We have to take our state back, and we have to do it with strength. And guys, our values are better than the Democrats. What we have to offer Oregonians as a whole is better than what the Democrats have been offering us. Our ideas are better for education. Our ideas are better for the economy. We have better solutions. Why are we apologizing for it? Why are we not putting up the fight? Why are we still going more blue? Like in 2024, Oregon went more blue. How are the Democrats continuing to win in the state? That's part of it. But it's also because, in my opinion, the Republicans need help. We need better leaders. We need better people standing up that have a clear message, that won't shy away from our conservative, our constitutional values, and that will take the fight to the Democrats. And that is what I plan to do every single day until I'm gone from this earth, is fight for you. I've been fighting for you in Oregon for the last 5 to 7 years. I've been taking the fight right to Antifa. I'm the only candidate that's come face to face with Antifa. I'm the only candidate that's been on the street exposing, going to these corrupt politicians. You guys saw my Maxine Dexter video? Did you guys see that video where I confronted her? Maxine Dexter, who's part of the Democrat machine that is inciting violence against our DHS officers and our ICE officers. I cannot believe they have not been held accountable for that. We've been taking the fight. I've been fighting for you. And even though some of you don't know me, don't know my work, I encourage you to go look me up. I've been fighting for you on the street, revealing truth, exposing the fraud, and standing for truth. And I'm going to continue doing that as your governor, guys. We're in a different time. We cannot play politics as usual. And that's been part of the problem. I'm here to identify the problem in Oregon. It's not that the Democrats win, it's that Republicans lose. We play politics too much with and I thought it was, I have to say, I love these guys up here, I really do. But, and they're right. I think one of them mentioned that there's like legislatus. When you get in that building, I mean, it really does change you. I've seen it happen. And we have like Alek Skarlatos, great fighter. I wish there was more of him. I wish I could clone him and get 20 more of him in there. But the fact of the matter is, guys, that even the Republican Party has to fall in line in the legislature. And it hurts us. And it allows the Democrats to push through higher taxes. It allows the Democrats to push through bills that hurt you and I, that hurt our businesses, that hurt our families. And so I think it's about time that Oregon puts in there a fighter. You know, I remember a fighter. I'm not comparing myself to I'm no Donald Trump, okay? I feel like I'm a little bit nicer than Donald. We love Donald Trump. But this is our 2016 moment in Oregon. We have the voters. I've been on the ground every day in Portland, talking to voters, non-affiliated voters, Democrats even, that are tired of their own party. You're not alone, you guys. There are people in Portland that are tired of it. They're just looking for strength. They're looking for someone to stand up like Trump did in 2016 and take the fight to the political establishment. That's what this campaign is about. And it's also about bringing our godly values back to this land. What does the Bible say about if you call on his name and humble ourselves, he will heal our land? I fully believe that. I'm not afraid. I'm not ashamed to talk about God. I've had a lot of people that will go in, especially in Portland. Hey, stop talking about God. God's not, God. Maybe that's why the Republicans have been losing. It's because we've gone away from our godly values. We've gone away from talking about issues because we're afraid to lose elections. The days of that are over. Let's call back on the name of the Lord and let's get him back involved to heal our land. So here's what I want to do for you. Every single thing, every action I take as governor is going to put Oregonians first again. And I have to say there are some Republicans that are guilty of teaming up with the Democrats. We have to call it out, guys. We have to call it out or else we're never going to solve this problem. It's not just the Democrats. There are some Republicans that have gone along with the Democrats on some of these bills. Go look it up. Go look up at what some of these, even some of my opponents that have voted with the Democrats on some of these things. It will blow your mind. And again, I'm going to say, whoever wins on May 19th, if it's not me, I'm going to support, because any one of them are going to be better than Kotek. But this is why I'm in the race. It's not about just winning the race, not just about becoming governor. It's about inspiring a new generation of Oregonians. And I'm talking about all of you too. It's about rebuilding our party, bringing strength back to our party. Stop apologizing. Stop letting the Democrats write our story. Stop letting the Democrats define us and keep us in fear. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of living in fear while our state pays for it. It's time to stand up. 5 minutes. Thank you. It's time to stand up. And it's time to stop apologizing. And it's time to stop allowing the media and the Democrats to write our story. So here's what I'm going to do. We cannot fix any of these problems until we end the corruption, identify the corruption, and end the corruption. I have a lot of tools at my disposal as governor to end the corruption. That's going to be my top priority, is to figure out where all the fraud, waste, and abuse is at, identify it, and get it out. We can start with all the billions of dollars we give to illegal aliens. You should not be a second-class citizen in your own state. We have been devalued as Oregonians in our own state. And sadly, some Republicans have gone along with it. I say not another dime to anybody that doesn't belong here. While our vets suffer, while our education system continues to decline, while our economy continues to decline, Portland's in a recession, our homelessness is getting worse. It's a whole nother topic that we will solve. I say we start putting you first again. That is what my campaign is going to be about. I will veto every bill that doesn't put you first. And so I will enact a Doge-style audit of everywhere I can. Everywhere. And I won't stop. I wish Trump would keep going. I won't stop. And guys, they can try to kill me. They can try to take me out. They can try to smear me. I'm sure more smears are coming. They can try to do whatever. I'm built for this. I am built for this. I'm ready to fight, because we will identify and people will be held accountable. And I'll tell you what, people will be held accountable for what happened during COVID too. Because if they're not held accountable, they're going to do it again. We have to take our state back, and we're over politics. This is getting in there and taking care of the problems head on and not being afraid to do it, and not letting any of the special interests or lobbyists that control our politicians dictate what we do. So I want to put you first. I want to stop the wasteful spending. I want to bring just common sense. And you hear common sense thrown around a lot, but a lot of people, there's a different definition for different people. How much time do I have? 3 minutes. But I want to bring back actual common sense, like, hey, there's two genders. Maybe we shouldn't be funding illegal alien health care while our families, our middle class, suffer. Maybe we should be tapping into our natural resources, including the timber industry, and unleashing the potential there. And I'm going to do everything as governor, by the way, to unleash our natural resource potential. We should be the richest state in the United States. We should be a prosperous state. This is a controlled demolition by the political establishment, which is why Oregon's where it's at. And so a lot of the things I want to do, man, I want to help you seniors out. Our seniors need help, especially with the property taxes. I want to look at an exemption for property taxes for seniors. I want to get rid of the death tax. I want to get rid of everything, I don't have time to go into everything. You guys can talk to me. I'd be happy to answer questions. I want to get rid of everything that is hamstringing you in your life that shouldn't be there. I want to shrink government, and I want to hold government accountable. And guys, I want to work with our legislator, like Senator Robinson here. I've heard great things about you. I want to get to know you more. I want to work with the people that are actually putting you first now and expand that and get other people like them to step up and help us take over seats in the legislature. That's one of my goals. So I can't say the rest of this because I want to be respectful, because we don't want to get you guys in trouble. But guys, just look at where we're at. This is not 2010 anymore. This is not politics as usual. This is not the George W. Bush days. We are fighting an enemy that has gone so far radical. We need to stand up strong with strength and do whatever is necessary to get back to our constitutional principles and bring God back into what we're doing. If we don't call on God, guys, I'm telling you, I just have a feeling, when I pray about this stuff, I'm telling you, if we don't bring the Lord back into what we're doing here in the Republican Party, there not going to be any change. It's got to start with the Lord. And yeah, let's go.
Amen.
So I'm willing to stand after and answer some questions if you guys want. Thank you guys so much. It's an honor to be here. And take a look at me, medinafororegon.com.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. You can also be over here in the VIP area. Anyone who wants, VIPs want to visit with David Medina, he's available. Okay, right now we're going to be welcoming our keynote speaker in just a few moments. David Clements will be coming up here. I'll give him an intro here again in a few moments. Right now, I want to bring up Rick Nelson for a quick, he promised me, quick, less than 5-minute piece of information here.
Thank you. I'm on the school board at Three Rivers. I was elected a short time ago. I won by 53 votes, and that's because of 53 of you are here right today. So I come from a generation that had the best. In the 50s and 60s, we grew up. We weren't afraid of playing in the streets, going out after dark, and my mom knew where I was all the time because the neighbors would rat me out and tell me where I was. But anyway, what's going on in the school board? Really interesting. July 1st of this year, these school-based health clinics, which we have 5 of them in this area, they give help to students and, headaches and things like that. But on July 1st, they're going to have to give condoms, birth control, IUDs, and transgender treatment. They have to, and referral to abortions for abortions. Now, I don't know about you, but a 14-year-old girl does not need an IUD. But they can do it at school without the parents' knowledge. Okay? Now, April 15th, we're going to vote on this. I'm voting no. We're going to kick these people out of the schools. Over my dead body, this is going to happen. This is crazy. Okay, driver's ed. A few months ago, 4 teenagers died in separate accidents. Drivers ed, they crashed into trees. Terrible. We don't have driver's ed in schools. No, you don't have it. It's gone. To get driver's ed, you have to go to the college and spend $450. We're going to get that changed. We're going to do driver's ed in the schools. Teach our kids how to drive safely. What a novel concept. Let's get the death off the streets. That's it.
Thank you so much, Rick Nelson. One thing Mariah wants to mention.
The school board meeting is April 15th out at SOSA at 3:30 if any of you want to come and make public comment. One more time, when and where? SOSA, which is out in Merlin, April 15th at 3:30.
Southern Oregon Success Academy in Merlin. Please be there, 3:30. We need to hear your voices. I'm on the school board, and so is my friend Mariah and Rick. And we've got all 5 conservatives. Praise God.
Praise the Lord. Good job. Pay attention to that schedule. Okay, so again, right before David Clements, one other little item here, actually maybe a big item for somebody, the 50-50 raffle. We need to wrap that up. It's basically over unless do we have a last-minute purchase of ticket? Last-minute purchase. Okay, there's one there and one right here. Okay. Also, Holly, do we want to auction off that cake right now? I think we do. Yeah. Oh, after David? We're going to auction off an amazing wine cake right after David Clements gives his talk. Just to get you ready for that, it's a homemade wine cake. Comes with a side of whipped cream, and it was made like your grandmother used to make it, or maybe better. How about that? So we're going to be auctioning off that wine cake here again after David Clements. So just get your taste buds ready for affecting your wallet on that one. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we love this last-minute ticket buyers. All right, so we'll be right back with you in just a moment to raffle off this 50-50 raffle, or to pick the 50-50 raffle winning ticket. Thank you. Okay, so we're just getting ready here in just a moment to listen to David Clements speak, but right in the next 30 seconds or so, I think we're going to be able to draw a winning ticket for the 50-50 raffle. Ms. Marshall, Victoria is stirring up the tickets so very carefully, making sure. Oh, Victoria, don't watch. You're not supposed to be watching. Okay. I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. Okay, she's mixing up those tickets. We'll get the lucky winner just a moment. You let me know when it's ready. I'll pick the ticket. Clean hands. No ticket in my hand. See that? No tickets. No tickets up my sleeve. Okay, are you ready? Okay, so 50-50 raffle winner. Take a look at your numbers. I got a number, a little paper here. Ticket number. Have you guys ever noticed that one? No, I'm sorry. 285. How many people have that? 285. Oh, everybody. Okay, never mind. 2. Oh, sorry. 7. 285. What's that? 285. 227. Anyone? 285, 227. I'm just thinking, I better. Did I see it? You got it. Oh, Sarah. All right. That's it. Let me see. It is the matching ticket. Sarah. All right. All the way from Salem, right? All right. Good job. Congratulations. So they'll figure out the amount and give you 50%. Okay. What? You're going to keep it? Oh, wow. She says keep it. Republican Party. Oh, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. She said, hey, I thought I was just donating some money to you guys. I didn't know I was buying a ticket.
I think it was $277.
Okay, $277? All right, very good. Very good. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you, everybody who bought tickets and gave that a shot. Thank you so much. It's very good. Help us out to raise money for conservative candidates in Josephine County. Okay, so let me give you, thank you, Victoria, for all that work selling those tickets. Let me give you the introduction here for Mr. David Clements, our next guest. David Clements is a seasoned attorney, former law professor, and dedicated advocate for election security and constitutional rights. As a former prosecutor of the year, David helped secure 8 first-degree murder convictions and played a part in dismantling the Arizona Boys, the AZ Boys, drug trafficking organization. As a leading voice in election security, David has delivered over 300 evidentiary presentations across 49 states, exposing legal and technical deviations, fraud, in the 2020, 2022, and 2024 elections. He oversaw forensic audits throughout New Mexico and co-authored a comprehensive vulnerability assessment of election systems, contributing to the removal of fraud-prone infrastructure. Yeah, we need that. We know it's all over the place. This prompted a weaponization. This prompted a weaponized DOJ and press, along with a corrupt bar association, to go after him. So you know you're on the target, right, when you start getting flack. 6 complaints and successive investigations were commenced to strip David of his law license. David represented himself and in the process won against every single one of his accusers. As a law professor, David was a 2-time nominee of the Patricia Christmore Teaching Excellence Award, winning the award just days before being canceled, remember that, by his university for refusing to subject his students to the experimental COVID-19 vaccines, in quote, right? And the mask mandate too, that foolishness. His work is featured in the documentary Let My People Go. By the way, I watched that. That was fantastic. If you haven't seen it, Let My People Go. You should check that out. which highlights systematic election issues and the plight of the January 6th defendants. David is the founder of the Prisoners Record Ministry and J6 Support Network. J6, January 6th Support Network, raising over $2 million to support January 6th defendants and their families while providing pro bono legal services. Please welcome Mr. Professor David Clements.
Sit down, please. I don't want to get a big head. You guys sit down. So this is the way I'm wired. I came into Grants Pass, and I saw a bunch of stinky people standing across from the GOP headquarters next to Tent City, and what a picture it presented. Like, there's your political class, there are your results with the trash and the tents. And so I'm sitting there, I want to mix it up with these people. And I know you've got responsible leadership saying stay out of it, but I went back in the corner and bought this hat. And if they're still on the clock, I'm going to put it on. I'm going to go walk with your busting citizens because we're at war. And I'm going to try my best to be really kind and polite and all those things. But we got some folks in the corner that need to keep it down because I am a professor and I'm used to class quiet. You got to turn off your cell phones and everything else because we're going to have a pop quiz. So when I come in, I don't have any pre-prepared remarks for the most part. But the first thing I do is I start going and looking at the campaign literature of your candidates. Because I know what we're up against. We're up against the slave trade. We're up against a slave master. And a slave master is fine with you talking about God, babies, Bibles, and bullets, so long as you can't discern what tool they use to keep you enslaved. And so I listened to the speeches, a lot of good stuff, don't get me wrong. But I want to hear until you fall over dead about rigged machines, rigged software, and those mail-in ballots. And if that's not what we're giving 99% of our attention to, you know, you can talk to me about Roe v. Wade all you want. You're not going to solve the problem until you get rid of the fraud. So there's certain litmus tests that I want you to hold to. Can your politicians say out loud the 2020 election was rigged and stolen? Have they said it out loud?
Only Trump.
Seems like it's just Trump. So we like rolling him out and stealing his thunder because we get to use it, but we don't have courageous Republicans to stand by him and say the 2020 election was rigged and stolen, and it was. So I get kind of fired up. I get pissed off, frankly, because we've heard the same stump speeches about babies, Bibles, and bullets, which I'm a fan of, don't get me wrong, but I want to save them. And the way that we save them is by going to war. So I love the fact that we've got this end voting by mail initiative here in Oregon that complements the SAVE Act. That's critical. Now, some of you might be thinking, how in the world is it going to happen? With the corruption that you all have, you have one of the worst states in the United States when it comes to the election system, vote by mail. So I'm going to give you a little bit of hopium today. But like I said last night, I've earned my hopium. I've earned it because I've done audits. I've defended depositions. I have over 1,000 hit pieces written about me by the New York Times, Washington Post, USA Today, you name it. Don't Google my name. Don't do it. So I've earned it because I've been following the genius of one Donald Trump. And frankly, you guys should not be worried. I sure hope that you folks aren't taking the black pill, because he's going to prove a lot of people wrong, as he usually does. So do we have my thing behind me? Let's go ahead and bring up my screen, because I'm gonna spin a little yarn for you. But in 2021, I got to have dinner with Donald Trump. Did you know that? But before I had dinner, because you got to get the invitation, I had a very, very discreet meeting with him and probably some Secret Service people behind the wall. And I was called in to give him legal advice. Now, I don't think he needed my legal advice. I think he just wanted to put his radar on me to see if I had any common sense, because I was one of the few people with credentials and accolades that said out loud, the election was rigged, it was stolen. And at that time, it was a lot harder to say that. I mean, go back to 2021. You remember those days. Could you even meet up with your county commissioners? You were in Zoom meetings. And when they did open it up, how many minutes did they give you for public comment? 2 minutes, 3 minutes? Do you remember those days?
You had to write it on a card, you couldn't even take the mic.
Yeah. And remember how just dehumanizing that was? Like monkeys trying to get through your talking points before you hand off your script card to the next patriot. And your commissioners would look at you like, oh, they don't know that they're slaves. I hate that. I hate that. So I want to do something right now, if we could, just to wake you up. Everyone stand up. Just stand up. And I want you to look around at your brothers and sisters, even if it's hard to stand up, because you can't fight unless you're standing. And I want you to look around, and I want you to imagine yourself going into these meeting rooms, not with one person standing alone, but coming together, standing together. And you change the atmosphere in a room. Have we tried that? Do we know how to stand together? We really don't. We know how to bitch and moan on social media. We know how to show up into rooms and have the echo chamber. But we don't do this and show up to places where it's scary to stand together. So consider that. I can feel the energy change in the room right now. Everyone's kind of straightening out their chest, posture's a little better. It feels good to stand. So we're on the other side of victory. Make no mistake. You're not going to be depressed today. You're going to get some hopium, because something big is coming. But for all you tired warriors that have been speaking the truth for a long time, this presentation's for you. But don't give up, okay? Have a seat. Have a seat. All right, so I meet with President Trump. And I look at him and I say something along the lines of, look, I've read all the lawsuits, and I did. And I read all the lawsuits that were filed by your attorneys, and I praised their work. I was like, these are good lawsuits, Mr. President. The black letter law makes sense. These are great, viable theories. And I said, the problem's not the lawsuit. It's you. You're the problem. And, he's got a poker face. It's unbelievable. I don't know if I'm offending him or not. He's just looking at me like the... Where are we going with this, Clements? Meaning, you pose an existential threat to the cabal, to the cartel. And I could file something with 10 months more information, and it'll be dismissed twice as fast. And unless we cut out the cancer that is the judiciary, I don't see a way out. Now, I'll tell you this. I've thought about this very often. He came back and said, all the judges? And the way he said it, all the judges, led me to believe that I shouldn't. He was basically telling me, you shouldn't be so certain. Yeah, that was 2021. It's 2026. How many arrests do we have? Not many. But he knows something that we don't know. And the judges that he's looking at aren't the judges that I'm used to dealing with, because I wasn't a military attorney. I wasn't part of the JAG Corps. So while everyone is tripping over themselves to be disappointed with Cash and Pam Bondi, they were never the plan. Never the plan. Look, I've done RICO cases. I've done racketeering from indictment to verdict, 7 years. And I was going against really, really bad, ugly people with their mugshots, with tattoos. I didn't have John Brennan on trial. I didn't have Hillary Clinton. I didn't have Barack Obama. If you think that the civil system can drain the swamp, you don't know the civil system. The due process rights of the accused are held at a premium. So what do you do if you're corrupt? You wait them out. You lawyer up. In fact, Barack Obama has lawyered up. But it's different with a military tribunal. So let's start talking about whether or not this is fantasy or reality. If you want to understand Trump, you need to understand Abraham Lincoln. We got to go back some time, because during the 1860s, we had a rebellion from within the Confederacy, an uprising, and the nation was about to fall apart. And Trump did something that many scholars would tell you was illegal. It was unconstitutional. He suspended the writ of habeas corpus. Basically, he got rid of due process rights of enemy belligerents and started arresting people. And that power does not belong to the president. It belongs to Congress. So all the constitutionalists out there, they give a stern finger wagging to Lincoln for doing that. But Lincoln wasn't an idiot. He was a lot like Trump. He's like, let me get this straight. We can violate all of the laws. We can have an uprising. We can have a new nation being birthed in the midst of slavery. Sound familiar? And I can't quell the rebellion. I can't put it down. Lincoln said, I'm going to do it anyway. The Supreme Court ruled that was unconstitutional. Lincoln said, let me see you enforce it. So he's at odds with the legislature that didn't want to give him congressional approval to suspend the writ of habeas corpus. He was at odds with the Supreme Court. Again, does this sound familiar? And he was ready to lock it down. Lincoln was vindicated. About a year later, the legislature did approve suspension. He won, but his life was forfeited by the bankers. Those centralized bankers, the power behind it all. So let's talk about some stuff that Trump has shared with you and see if I've just got a nice theory or if we're on firmer foundation. Cell number 2, please. The Democrats refuse to vote for voter ID or citizenship. The reason is very simple. They want to continue to cheat in elections. This was not what our founders desired. I have searched the depths of legal arguments not yet articulated or vetted on this subject, and will be presenting an irrefutable one in the very near future. There will be voter ID for the midterm elections. This is key, whether approved by Congress or not. Also, the people of our country are insisting on citizenship and no mail-in ballots, with exceptions for the military. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Whether approved by Congress or not, them's fighting words. How do you back them up? Okay, we're going to talk about another thing that happened. After Lincoln, we had World War II, and there was a case called the Youngstown Steel Decision after Harry Truman started seizing steel from steel mills. And he had his reasons. I need the steel for the war effort because we're going to go to war with Korea. Supreme Court issues a ruling, which is the definitive ruling on war powers. And it tells you when the president is at his strongest under those powers and when he's at his weakest. The president's at his strongest when he's working with Congress. Now let's press pause right now. The Save America Act. Is this controversial? Go ahead and close that out and give me cell 7. The last one, here we go. This is how controversial the Save America Act is. All voters must show voter ID. 2, all voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote. 3, no mail-in ballots. 4, no men and women's sports. 5, no transgender mutilation surgery for children. Okay. All 5 of these items have 80% approval amongst both parties, and yet they can't bring this to a vote. Okay. So when President Trump talks about the Save America Act, if you think he's actually relying on Congress to get it done, you don't get the man. The Save America plan is not the plan. The Save America plan is just to highlight you've got a bunch of traitors that are going to be exposed, and he's going to have to sit on power that people don't quite comprehend. So close that out. What power? Okay, close that out. So back to Youngstown. President's at his height when he's working with Congress. When Congress is silent on a matter, he's in his twilight. No one's really sure what power the president has because Congress hasn't legislated on a topic. And then when the president and Congress are at cross purposes, it is said that he's at his lowest ebb of power. And the only power that he has is brought forth through his Article 2 executive powers commander-in-chief. So let's see if we've heard President Trump talk about Article 2. Cell 6, please.
Article 2, where I have the right to do whatever I want as president, but I don't even talk about that.
It's a thing called Article 2. Nobody ever mentions Article 2.
More importantly, Article 2 allows me to do whatever I want. Article 2 would have allowed me to fire him.
So it sounds
but
like
I wasn't going to fire. You know why? Because I watched Richard Nixon go around firing everybody, and that didn't work out too well. So very simply, Article 2 would allow me to do.
I could have done anything I wanted. I don't even bring it up because we don't even get there. Absolutely, I have Article 2. It gives me all of these rights at a level that nobody has ever seen before. We don't even talk about Article 2.
Okay, close it out. He's been telling you in plain sight. So if this was a law class, and I taught many law classes, I have to do pop quizzes to see if people understand the Constitution. So let's imagine that there are war profiteers, the military-industrial complex, that don't like the fact that somehow, inexplicably, we're no longer in Afghanistan. We're no longer in the Middle East going to war, which is awfully weird when you consider that we had Biden. You need to think about that. Why is it that the military wasn't really allowed to do anything for 4 years? Maybe he wasn't the commander-in-chief. We're going to get to that. But the point is this. Let's say that they need to prop up their billion-dollar, trillion-dollar special interest, and President Trump's not going to the theaters of war that Halliburton's used to, or Dick Cheney wanted you to go to. And so they say, you know something, let's pass the Make Ukraine Safe Act. And we're going to help Trump direct troop movements over there to make sure that we solve the conflict in the region, and we give them all the resources that they need. All the resources, billions and billions of dollars. But we get to direct where we place boots on the ground. And this is passed. This is key. It's passed in bipartisan efforts. Both Democrats and Republicans join hands, and they vote on it together. And Michael Jackson comes back from the dead, and he writes, "We Are the World, Part 2." And everyone's singing around a microphone. We love Ukraine. Come take our money. And everyone's like the emotive high is like, wow, this is great. The sirens call. And Trump's attorneys file an injunction saying that's unconstitutional. But the Supreme Court, wouldn't you know, they rule against the president and declare it's actually constitutional for Congress to direct troop movements, with Amy Coney Barrett providing the majority opinion. Now, most students would tell you the Supreme Court has spoken. It's the law of the land. They're the highest court. Does Trump have to listen? I don't think so. I think it's akin to, let's say that Iran got a hold of a intercontinental ballistic missile, and somehow they get it on a skiff or a boat outside of Portland, and they fire it off. Does the president have to wait till Congress votes before he strikes down the missile? If the Supreme Court says you don't get to strike it down, does he have to listen? No, that's what we're talking about here, folks. Your elections are national critical infrastructure, meaning that they're afforded the same protections as our nuclear arsenal. He doesn't have to listen to them. In fact, he is duty-bound to tell them to go pound sand. Article 2. Now, he has been walking with this authority for quite some time, and we have to start making sense of the weirdness of 2020, where Joe Biden came on the scene, and he actually has done more to reverse engineer your brainwashing than I have by simply getting up, losing his train of thought. Where am I? Who am I? What is that? That's interesting. Bereft. The only thing that he's done with our military is botch the withdrawal in Afghanistan. He had no power to do anything because something happened on April 1st, 2020 that many people missed. April 1st, 2020, go back in time. About 2 weeks prior to that, what did President Trump say over and over again? Open up by Easter. Open up by Easter. We have to open up by Easter. Did anyone in government listen to him? No, they didn't. So go ahead and pull up number 5. This is his famous immigration chart that he points to at rally after rally. In fact, this was the chart that saved his life, and he said that it saved his life even before Butler, mind you, when he turned over. And this chart makes no sense. It says that the lowest immigration that we experienced was on April 1st, 2020, but no one ever looked at the bottom hand corner where the chart says Trump leaves office. What do you mean Trump left office? I saw him serve out the rest of his term. Didn't you? Didn't we all stay up on November 3rd, 2020 with our hearts broken over the cheating? So that has to be a mistake. Surely that's a mistake. Surely an intern got fired for putting that on a chart that was shown at another 24 rallies. Oh, and by the way, after he got shot, he went to the RNC with a bandage on his ear. This same chart was on about 20 giant plasma screens. And if you thought it was a mistake, he said, oh, and by the way, I left office that week. Now, I can't understand for the life of me why we walk past statements like that, because either he's crazy and lost his mind, or perhaps we better take him at his word. So the question I have for my constitutional scholars out there is, can you be the commander-in-chief and not the president? And yes, you can. In certain circumstances where continuity of government is triggered. During the Cold War, there was a thing called Directive 40 that was initiated that contemplated devastation of government. Usually it's like they're thinking a nuke might fall on Washington, D.C., like a nuclear bomb. What happens if 80% of your government's wiped out? What's the plan? So what happens when the nuke isn't a bomb, but it's a rigged election that replaces people? What happens when you have a bioweapon that kills up to 18 million people? See, under a continuity of government framework, either one of those or both would give you the legal predicate to initiate continuity of government, because the coup is on, as they say, as the cool kids say. The coup was on. And you know the coup was on because all of a sudden Trump becomes the prophet. Mail-in ballots will flood our election in 2020. Thus saith the Lord. Mail-in ballots will rig the election. He knew exactly what was going to happen, and it happened. So when I met him in Bedminster in 2021, sat down, I looked at a man that was not defeated, but understood that he was in another phase of his shadow presidency. No doubts he was going to come back. And that counts for all the strangeness that occurred from 2020 to 2024, which was frankly painful, but necessary. Because if Trump had grabbed the machines like he could have legally, the biggest threat to his power was the media and the fact that not all of us were awake. It took 4 years for you to do what? Loathe big tech, loathe big media, loathe big pharma. Now you all are smarter than your doctors, and you are. Smarter than the lawyers, with the exception of Steve. You're smart. You had to do your homework because we were led by the necks on a leash. Stay asleep. Elections are safe and secure. The jab is safe. Repetitive over and over. Let's close that out and let's get a little bit more explicit. Because maybe you say, like, that's still a typo. I don't believe you. Get me to cell 4 right there at the bottom.
I'm 45, 46, and 47, if you think about it. I just don't want the credit for 46. They indict their political opponent, and what that does is it sets off a chain of events that's very dangerous in future years. It could happen to them very easily. The reason Crooked Joe and his thugs are trying so hard to stop me is that in my first term, I disrupted all of it. Oh, did I disrupt? That was called major disruption. And in my second term, which we're sort of having now, but I don't want the results, right?
All right, so he was campaigning. This was during Biden's presidency. He says, during my second term, which we're sort of having right now. But that first clip, he was at Quantico addressing the military. And he explicitly says, I was the 45th, 46th, and 47th president. Okay. This might be blowing your minds. It might not. I think this is pretty spectacular stuff because it tells me that, look, he didn't know who was going to rise up, but the plan was we had to reawaken the American people, and he's done that. And somehow he inexplicably won in November 2024, and we can talk about how that happened, yet the fraud is still there. So I think we got one more clip that we're going to play. Let's play the first cell.
Voter ID is part of Homeland Security. Think of it. We're talking about two separate items, but they're really the same. Voter ID is part of Homeland Security. And citizenship, proof of citizenship, is part of Homeland Security.
Okay, so in order for him to prevail against a defiant Congress composed of traitors, he has to operate within Article 2, his plenary authority, and that's what he's talking about. You will not be able to get away with not issuing or showing voter ID this year if we have an election. Mark my words. And so, okay. Now invite me back, and if I'm right, buy me a drink, and if I'm wrong, you can throw stuff at me. But I truly believe this because we're not going to have a country. But the mail-in ballots are just as important, just as key. So these are, I can give you another 100 of these examples that make complete sense and gives me just enough hope that the Commander-in-Chief is exactly who you think he is, a genius. Okay? And nothing that I'm saying here comes from, I don't want you to believe like I've got the bat phone. I don't have the bat phone. I'm just like you, just a citizen that's been paying attention, and I've tried everything I can to awaken the American people. So, oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, he sure was. He was. So what are we up against? You're not up against the Democrats. You're not. Stop. That's the siren call to get you back into this binary thinking. You're not even up against the uniparty in some respects. That's closer to the mark. Give me cell number 3. This is what you're up against. Predetermined outcomes in a selection of a candidate. No matter what, it's going to reach its set point. This is called a cast vote record summary. Go ahead and pause that for a second. And I know that some of my folks that have attended some of my lectures in the past, they want proof. So this is a race, this is the cumulative ratio of votes between Biden and Trump in 2020. This is one of 1,000 analysis that we've done, over 1,000 counties. And we find this phenomena over and over again. And the way that this works is to explain it to you, because that might not mean much to you, but it's going to here in a second. Let's say that, let me ask you all, because you guys don't really have get out the vote efforts in a meaningful way because you got the damn mail-in ballots. But do you remember a time when you had a landline and people would encourage you to get out and vote, right? And they're basically doing a poll. Hey, get out and poll. And polls are supposed to be scientific, you know that? Because they have to adhere to this thing called the law of large numbers. And this is what makes a poll scientific rather than just conjecture. So what's the population of Oregon? 4.3 million people. So the utility of a poll is if you're running for office, you don't have to call up 4.3 million. You can call up 400 at random. But you got to do it randomly. Okay, and as long as you do it random, once you get a sufficiently large set of numbers, you'll see a phenomenon. So go ahead and press play. In polls, what you'll see is wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And at the same point, you'll start to see a flat line emerge. This is the law of large numbers at play. Pause it again. Pause it. Okay. So right here, we don't have enough data to figure out what the average is going to be across the state of Oregon. But every time we get to about 400 votes, it'll start to flatline. And you can replicate it. That's why it's a law. That's why someone can tell you plus or minus 4% margin of error, so-and-so is going to win. And usually they're right until they started rigging the polling, which they have. This is what a cast vote record should look like through early mail-in absentee votes. So I can get a cast vote record summary from the tabulators here in Oregon, and there's certain guarantees that I should have in the collection of those ballots, and it's namely this. The sample should be random, meaning not everyone gets their ballot at the same time. Not everyone fills it out at the same time. Not everyone returns it at the same time. You follow me? So when you receive, as a clerk, the ballots, they should not be in any pre-structured order. And they run them through those black box machines. So what we're seeing here is an injection in favor of Biden at about 90 to 10 at the beginning. But in order to have that descending power, that descending pattern going forward, go ahead and press play. Do you know what has to happen in the real world for that to occur? Okay, press pause. That means the next batch comes in and it's not 90-10 in favor of Biden. It's 89-11. And then the next batch of 100 comes in, 88-12, 87-13, 86-14. Do you think your mail-in ballots can magically order themselves to have a glide slope feature that's a PID controller and shift down to your selected set point? Through cheating. The one thing that none of our politicians, we can't seem to get that out of their mouths. So it seems like you got really great candidates here. That's what you're up against. And either you're being elected to your office because you're part of the system, or you don't present a threat to it. And part of showcasing how you don't present a threat to it is never having election security on any of your campaign materials. It's never a staple of your speeches in any meaningful way, because you got in with the system. And therefore, you've got a vested interest to not challenge the system that lets you get in, because you get to have some perks that we don't, and we get to clap for you. Well, I don't like clapping like a seal, because I used to be a prosecutor, and I know a liar when I see one. I know a murderer when I see one. People have been murdered and killed to keep this system in place, and they deserve justice. I deserve justice. You deserve justice. And we deserve politicians that can talk about the damn problem with specificity, because I don't certify your elections. I'm not your clerk. And it's an abomination that I know more about your systems than the people that certify your votes do. Think about that. Now, this cast vote record summary is available for your machines, but do you have them? Will they give them to you? Because you might be asking, is this going on in Oregon? And I have to honestly tell you, I don't know. But I could tell you. I could tell you if they give them to us. And I think what you're going to find is the same stuff that Steve talked about, where mail-in ballots just show up after the date. Good candidates lose. Mr. Vaughn in the back, hero, thank you. Good men aren't elected because others are selected. This is what you're up against. Go ahead and close that out. This is the tool. This is the fight. So how do we meet Trump in the middle? Because I'm not here to demoralize you. I gave you some hopium on what Trump's doing, but during my meeting with Trump, I needed something from the man, because I just lost my career. I lost my job standing up for him. And I just got done presenting at the Cyber Symposium sitting next to Mike Lindell. And I saw some stuff that was true, and I saw some stuff that was planted from the deep state to destroy the movement in its inception. I saw CNN cameras. I saw honeypots in hotels hitting on math geeks. And I'd go up to the math geek in the hotel lobby who's sitting and talking with a beautiful girl, and I go, when in your life has this ever happened to you? A beautiful woman's talking to you about math. And you'd think that, a self-aware patriot would go, oh, you're right. He's like, shut up, get away. I live in my mother's basement. This is the most excited I've ever been. That's what I'm talking about, like DEFCON 4, stuff that even as a trial attorney that's done murder cases, nothing like it. But I fly over on Lindell's jet and end up having this meeting with Trump, and I said, as you sit there, Mr. President, you're the most powerful man in the world by virtue of our legal votes. You're the commander-in-chief. Now, I hadn't formulated all the continuity of government stuff. I didn't know all that. It was just intuition. Like through God's eyes, as you sit there, you're our president. And surely you have something that Mike Lindell doesn't. Does that make sense to you? I mean, he kind of created Space Force. You ever heard of the NSA? You know, the thousands of satellites that were deployed into orbit. Mike didn't put them up there. They went up there during Trump's watch. So when Trump says he has it all, you might want to take him at his word. And he's been sitting on things while people expose themselves and make fools of themselves. So if I had to war game this is my hope. You got a primary coming up? In May, okay? I would expect something big to drop. There was a call for declassification of election stuff from the NSA, and this is the stuff that you and I, us mere mortals, can't examine. And it's going to vindicate all the patriots that have been out there. It's going to happen. I know some of the cyber experts that have been assisting Tulsi Gabbard, and when she shows up at the cabinet meetings and telling you straight up, we have found the machines doing X, Y, and Z. She's not making it up. They seized voting machines out of Puerto Rico. I knew that a year ago. I knew about the surprise visit in Arizona the day after the November 2024 election, where a congressional delegation showed up surprised, went to the Runbeck facility. Runbeck actually prints up the ballots. You might even be using Runbeck printed ballots in Oregon for all I know. There's just a few. And after the day of election, the machines were still on. And there were still ballots being stacked on pallets, tens of thousands, being loaded onto Penske trucks by non-English speakers, about 4 of them. And I got to see the videos of all of it. I got to see the CEO of Runbeck trying to tell them to put their cameras away. So when John Solomon gave his report about an affidavit that he reviewed about this spot visit, I actually got to see the actual video. And this was like a week after 2024. So we're going to start solving a few more puzzles for you, and then I'm going to wrap it up. How did Trump win? If I'm right, how in the world did Trump win? Okay, we got to observe something that happened on 2020 and didn't happen in 2024. Everyone remember in the swing states when everyone was sent home, stopped counting? And on election night reporting, you saw an injection of tens of thousands of votes where Biden leapfrogged Trump. And it made the shape of an F, called the F curve, the fraud curve. You remember that? It was a meme. Did you see the dreaded F curve in 2024 in the swing states with respect to Trump? You did not. So let's unpack it a little bit more. Joe Rogan on his podcast told everyone, I was at the watch party at Mar-a-Lago, sitting there with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk pulls out his phone, and I think it was before the close of polls. Huh. This is my best Elon Musk impersonation. Trump won. Okay, now when I pull out my phone, who cares? Clements is crazy. What do you mean? But when the guy that has sent up thousands of satellites during Trump's first administration has to have the highest national security clearances on planet Earth says something like that, you better pay attention. So those F curves, what is the data that we're looking at? It has nothing to do with what's being scanned through the machines. It has nothing to do with mail-in ballots. It's one of the big lies. Election night reporting is nothing but political theater. It's about perception engineering, where we watch a screen or we watch a website and we see vote totals come in every 5 minutes, and we're going, oh, it looks like my guy's gonna win, or it looks like my guy's gonna lose. And we accept the premise that that's legitimate. But when we look at the underlying data, this is what we find. The first batch of votes comes in from election night reporting, and there's a 50-50 split between Trump and Biden. Okay, maybe. And then the next batch comes in, and it's a 50-50 split between Trump and Biden. And then the next batch comes in, and it's a 50-50 split between Trump and Biden. And then the next batch comes in, and it's a 50-50 split between Trump and Biden. And stop me if you've heard this one. The next batch comes in, and there's a 50-50 split. You know how many times I have to do this to tell you exactly what the data showed in Georgia on election night? 55 batch sets in a row at 50-50, with decimal points for some people that were carved in half, where they weren't even a whole person or a whole vote. They were a point something. Completely engineered to keep it close. And they started turning in the screws and adjusting that algorithm a little bit finer. And Trump got 90 some batch sets in a row where he had like 49.2%, and Biden got 50 something or 50.8%. And he eked out a victory by about 10,000 votes in Georgia. None of that's tied to reality. What the experts will tell you is, no, David, we're never suggesting that it's completely accurate. There's projections in place. And that's what they'll tell you. Because this is the way that your votes are tabulated. At the end of election night, after they turn in your mail-in ballots, they retrieve from the tabulators a little thing called a jump stick, data stick. They remove it to protect the air gap. Got to protect that air gap. And they'll have a whole bunch of those jump sticks, and they'll put them in the election management system. And when you upload that data, what do you think you should see in an election? Simple addition. Data uploaded, votes. When we started looking at the Edison data, we didn't see addition. We saw deletions, oscillation, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay, that's what happened. So, to get around it, they tell you that the reason why it's not spot on accurate and that you see those fluctuations is you have to account for exit polling. Now think about how stupid this is. How many of you have voted in your entire life, maybe you didn't live here, and you've been stopped by an exit pollster? Has it ever happened to any of you? I've done about 1,000 of these types of meetings. I ask the same question. 49 states. Out of hundreds of thousands of people that have gotten this poll, I think I've gotten like 2 hands. So how in the world can you report data all the way down to the precinct level on your Secretary of State website and we still see the fluctuation? It's BS, it's bull. You have to know that. So that's what we're up against. I'm here to educate you on the fact that this is how it works. And many of your elected officials refuse to have this conversation, but it's okay, because Trump is going to help us. He's going to meet us in the middle. So I go back to this conversation with the commander-in-chief. I said, you got to give me something. He doesn't. I have to read the silence. And so I said, Mr. President, I don't see a path. You didn't tell me which judge to file a lawsuit in front of, but I trust you've got a plan. So I'm going to go out to the court of public opinion, which is what I've done. I'm going to wake people up. And when the moment's right, we're going to meet in the middle. We the people and you, we're going to meet in the middle, which was his promise to us the first time in 2017 when he placed his hand on the Bible. And what did he promise you? What did he promise me? I'm giving you back your country. I'm giving you back your country. And we caught them all. Those were the promises that matter to me. And if I don't get my country back and I don't see a firing squad emerge, his presidency's a failure. I don't think he wants his president to be a failure. So can it happen? Follow Lincoln. Follow the Youngstown Steel decision. And understand that mass arrests and convictions have happened in the past. During Lincoln's time, the Dakota Wars. A single tribunal tried 396 people in 37 days. That's just one tribunal. What happens when you've got 20 tribunals? 50 tribunals? You can try 15,000 people in 6 months. Just do the math, do the scaling. Is Trump prepared us for that? Well, he did deploy 600 JAG officers throughout the country to assist with immigration. And if you think that's the real reason, I've got some bad jokes for you. People that are skilled in court martials don't facilitate rote immigration cases. They don't. Judge Janine Pirro in D.C. swore in 20 JAG officers. You don't bring in JAG officers to deal with vagrancy cases and trespass issues and graffiti. You bring in third-year law students that have just graduated, let them cut their teeth on those cases. You've got people that are ready to stand in the gap to do something that's spectacular. There's an assembly line. This line goes to Pam Bondi. This line goes to the tribunal. Which case goes where? I think the Obama case goes in the tribunal. And Trump has actually talked about who wants to see televised military tribunals. Well, that's what Trump asked, not me. Hillary Clinton, John Brennan. So as a guy who's tried those cases, and they're extremely difficult, you don't want to try them where the due process rights of the accused are at a premium. You want to go and shoot fish in a barrel. And the commission allows you to do that. So whenever you see Trump playing YMCA, you need to know where Guantanamo Base used to be a YMCA. Did you know that? Well, now you do. The significance of this song that, I only remember when I go roller skating. And I stress roller skating. I didn't rollerblade. I was, really hip. YMCA. And he plays it everywhere. Justice is coming. Don't lose hope, but do your part. So this isn't a speech for you guys to sit on your laurels. In order for you to get your country back, guess what you have to do? You have to work your ass off. You have to extend your hand. You've got to take the baton, and you got to start running your own elections. So if I had to give a prediction, I'm not saying I'm right, but this is the way that my brain works. Your Constitution basically requires that your state sets up the time, place, and manner of your elections. That's your Constitution. But that concerns the state ballot. When it comes to federal races, which all of us have this year, U.S. Senate, congressional, Trump could easily issue an executive order through a national emergency and have the National Guard count those ballots by hand. And that'd be very easy. Be very easy. Because he can't rely on your election staff. You know that. Your election staff, they're only good at one thing. It's so hard to count. You're asking us to count to 300. We don't have the people. It's like, yeah, you don't have the people to be part of a rigged election. So Trump's he's not gonna rely on that. And then when people see that you're not a 50-50 country, that your federal races are just so bizarrely in favor of Republicans, everyone on the state ballot will have a legal grievance that they can file. And at that point, once we've proven the day of fraud, and that might happen in 100 different ways. I'm not saying this is the way, but it could happen. You know who funds those black boxes you use? Is it the state? Is it the state budget? Is it the state coffers? No. The Help America Vote Act, which every state has taken the money, took the strings that are attached to it, and those are federal monies under federal law to the tune of billions. And what happens when President Trump tells Scott Bessent, stop disbursements this fiscal year? This fiscal year is usually in the summer, right? After our fake primary election, we're not going to get to a fake general. Stop disbursements. If you guys want to go ahead and set the time, place, and manner, go ahead and do it with whatever money you have in your general fund. How are you guys doing in Oregon with your general fund? Are you all solvent without the federal government? No, you're not. Okay, so things are going to get interesting. If you're wondering why it had to be this way, we weren't awake. If Trump would have seized everything in 2020, civil war, and some of us would have been confused about whether Trump truly is a tyrant. So he's going to give us some help. And if you're worried about the resistance, if you're worried about those zombies across from the GOP headquarters, I wouldn't be too worried. You've got the Epstein files. Not all of them have been released. I think they're going to have some pretty explosive revelations about certain politicians through those files, and it might just take the spirit out of the other side. It's a culmination of all these things. What a providential time to be alive. Now, again, this might be hopium, but I've earned it. I'm here to tell you, I'm going to continue fighting, teaching about the truth of our systems, but the military, folks, is the only way. It's not the politicians, and it would be nice if our politicians had the courage to work with Trump, message with Trump, fight with Trump to defeat the enemy instead of playing it safe. So I'm not here to play it safe. I hope you're not here to play it safe. I hope you'll consider mixing it up with me over there across the street, because I don't want to play it safe. I want off this ride. So with that, thank you for showing up today. I hope you're encouraged. You should be. God bless y'all. Take care.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Clements. Thank you so much. Excellent work. Thank you. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Professor Clements. We needed to hear that. And I think this room, we know he was preaching some of that to the choir. I think we've been following him and Mike Lindell and Cause for America and quite a few amazing patriot groups. But it's really good to get that information firsthand from him. Okay, so next here in just a moment, we're going to have Ben. Yes, we're going to do that. In a few moments, we're going to have Ben Edtl come up and speak. That'll be just right after we do two more things. First is to auction off this wonderful wine cake. Holly, did you make this cake? Who made this cake? You did. Okay, yeah, say that again.
Made by a grandma from grandma's recipe.
Okay, so fresh whipped cream here. This wine cake, remember this is a fundraiser, so if you would like to go ahead and bid. Okay, what's the opening bid on this? What was it? I'm sorry. $15. So we're going to start this wine cake at this auction right now for $15, including at no extra charge this whipped cream, this bowl of whipped cream. So Anybody want to start with $15? Okay, Joyce, $15 for this wine cake. Can I get a $16 for the wine cake, or maybe 20? Anyone else for the wine cake? It's going to go. Hello? Hey, Senator Robinson, do you want a wine cake? Would you like to bid on this wine cake? Okay, sounds like a politician. What was that? I can't hear you. Right here? Oh, do I have another bid for this wine cake? Right now it's $15 with Joyce. Ron, $20 for the wine cake with whipped cream, no extra charge. Anyone? Come on now, we've got some people. I know your wallets are itching. You need to spend $25 back there, $25. The Robinson. Oh, $30, $40 right now for this wine cake, beautiful wine cake made by a grandma with grandma's recipe, and it comes with the whipped cream, not from the grocery store. $50 for the wine cake right now. Anyone else? $50. Come on now, that's come on, chump change. Anybody? Come on. So this wine cake, by the way, was made with love, so it's going to taste extra good, I'm sure. Wine cake, anybody to outbid $50 for this wine cake with the whipped cream? For real? Okay, we got $60 back there. It looks like they're teaming up. $60 for the wine cake with the whipped cream. The gentleman in the Trump hat next to the Robinsons back there, we know they're armed, so they're going to make sure he pays. $60 for the wine cake? $60? Mr. Lamb, where's all your money? Oh, listen to that. He sounds like a politician. My wife has my money. Okay. All right, so $60 for the wine cake with whipped cream. Anyone? Anyone's going once? Twice? Anyone else? Over $60 for that wine cake. Okay, sold. Third time, right back there in the back. Okay. $60 for the wine cake. Thank you so much. That's a fundraiser. That helps us to support conservative causes and conservative candidates. Okay, I have an announcement for everyone real quick about Memorial Day. Memorial Day this year, there's going to be a Vietnam memorial, like grand opening or a revealing of it. It's a 75% replica, so it's 3/4 the size of the one in Washington, D.C. It's over in Medford area, actually Central Point technically. Okay, it's on Memorial Day at 1:30. They're going to be revealing that replica of the Vietnam Memorial. It's at the near the Rogue X over there. Congressman Bentz will be there to say something about it. And also, by the way, that replica of that Vietnam Memorial, that was put together by private citizens. That is not, thank you, yes, private citizens, volunteers, donors, private donors paid for that Vietnam Memorial replica to be put up. And so it's all private money, which we should be proud. That's a local example of what a couple, actually, Senator Robinson was saying that, a few others. We don't need to be taking all this money from D.C. and faraway places. We can do this ourselves, and that's a good example of something like that. Okay, so in just what time is it? What time do you have? Okay, all right. So is Ben Edtl? I didn't see him. Is he here? Oh, there he is. I see him now. Okay. So Ben Edtl. I'm going to introduce Ben Edtl, our next guest. He's coming up here in just, 30 seconds. Ben Edtl knows how to shake up Oregon. Long before entering politics, Ben Edtl built and ran businesses in some of the most hostile environments in the nation. One of the most. Portland, Oregon. As CEO of a coffee roaster, Ben stood up to COVID mandates in real time. Ben is a chief petitioner with Steve Jonkis, who we all got to hear from earlier, of IP 37. It's Oregon's most comprehensive citizen-led security initiative, election security initiative. He urges all Republicans across the state to support IP37, IP37, and adopt his FTP 26 platform. Please welcome Ben Edtl.
All right, thank you very much. Hi, everybody. I'm going to figure out how far away to keep this mic from my mouth, but thank you for having me down here. It's always a joy to come down to Josephine County. You guys work hard. You guys are doing the deal. I love it. You guys are very inspiring. I only got 15 minutes, which is tough for me to go. I got 15. Let's just figure it out here. Let me just tell you this. For 25 years, I've been an entrepreneur and a CEO. And I've been fighting since 2020. Closer? You want it closer? Ah, there we go. We got it. I was in business in Portland. We took over a bankrupt coffee roastery in 2018, and we drove into 2020. And by that point, we'd gone from 800 square feet to 4,700 square feet. And I'm going to fall if I don't stand right here, so I'm just going to stand right here. We then started acquiring cafes going into 2020, and we had been distributing coffee from Portland to Las Vegas. So we were growing really, really fast. And when the lockdowns came, I gave Kate Brown 2 weeks. Remember, she said 2 weeks to flatten the curve, right? So I go, I don't like this, but I'll give you 2 weeks. And on the 15th day, we put the chairs back down on the ground. We took the signs off the doors. We took the skulls and crossbones off the floors. And we said, we're open for business. And in that time, business owners in Portland were they were like getting destroyed in the media if they broke any rules or if they didn't follow the mandates. But I was the only one that stuck it all the way out until the end. And we laid all of our businesses down. We lost everything. It was very, very difficult. And real hard night. I was down on my knees 2, 3 in the morning at this coffee roastery in Southeast Portland. And I said, God, what the fuck do you want me to do? Sorry, but that's what I said. And God told me go into politics. And then I started laughing. Because 40,000 people that day called me a homophobic racist. So politics is really my thing. I'm really good at that. I got a lot of people that like me. But I just follow orders. That's it. I just follow orders. And that's what I learned to do. You follow the orders. And they come in all different shapes and sizes and whatnot. But I've been fighting since 2020. I made a pact right then and there at that floor in that dark coffee roastery at 2, 3 in the morning that I was going to find the people responsible for what just happened, and I was going to hold them accountable. That was the deal that I made with God and myself right then and there in that moment. And in that deal, I got freedom. All the pressure, all the stress, all the fear was gone in that moment. Because he told me what I needed to do, and he told me why I was there. And I had no clue about the adventure that was going to come before me. Not a clue. I had no idea what I was getting into. In fact, I thought I was going to go show these Republicans, because I'm a Republican, how to actually get the Democrats. But what I found out in the last 6 years is I've never even been able to go up against a Democrat once. Think about that. And that's as far as I'm going to go with that. But we started Free Oregon. I worked with Jonkis. His first civil rights case was from Free Oregon. We've been in a foxhole for a long time. And sometimes it's not great across the way, the others in the foxhole shooting back at us. We don't always necessarily know who they are. But I think what you get from my friend David Clements is that the tribes have been misconstrued a little bit. This isn't about Republicans and Democrats. This is about citizens and the political class. And you, my friends, are citizens. And some of our politicians are here. In fact, one of my favorite ones in the state of Oregon is over here, Noah Robinson. Thank you, Noah, for all that you do. I don't think that guy's voted for one single Democrat bill. I don't think his dad did either. And believe me, I watch. Right? I watch. I think it's really, really, really important that not only do we watch, but we take action. Now, we took over the Umpqua Public Transit District in 2024 because it was a burning hill and we needed a hill. And everyone's like, it's burning though. And I'm like, it's a hill. We need a hill. We got to take the hill.
And so we went up into that burning hill and we took that hill. And within a matter of months, we put the fires out. We saved the taxpayers $600,000 every single budget. We did it within 7 months. We got that district 100% compliant. We have 90 articles written in the state of Oregon that said it and proved it. We had letters from ODOT that said it and proved it. And then May came along, the May special election. And in May, every single board member that was appointed to that district, to that board, that turned that agency around, lost all their elections, except for one guy. His name's Todd Vaughn. He's right over there in the corner, Todd. Todd won that night. Bravo. And because Todd won the election, we maintained control of that board. And then the county clerk in Douglas County, I promised I wouldn't name names, but the county clerk in Douglas County went on an 8-day blackout, reporting blackout. And they counted ballots after Election Day. And in that 8 days, something crazy happened. 48% of the total returns in that election, which means 48% of the total ballots that were cast in that election, came in after Election Day. And what do you think happened in Todd Vaughn's race? He lost. There was a perfect swing. He was up 95 votes, and it swung 400, and then he lost by 200, 300, something like that. Numbers aren't, I'm not a great numbers guy, but it's about like that. And so we went into that lawsuit, but we had already started IP 37. But I want to tell you something. As the CEO of that district, I was a government official. And I want to tell you something. The county sent me this letter and said, okay, now you got to certify the election. And I said, I can't certify this election because all they sent me was the top line numbers. They called it the abstract of votes. Every single precinct and then the top line numbers. I said, what do I do? What am I going to do? I can't certify an election with this. This is bull. I've already sworn once. I'm going to not do it again. Crap. It's bull crap. And so we asked the county for information. We said, hey, prove to us, because we're going to write the check for the election on behalf of the taxpayers, a $40,000 election. Prove to me that this election was legit. This looks fishy. And they wouldn't do it. They didn't send us anything. They said, nope, pound sand. And so you know what I did? I refused to certify the election. And let me tell you something. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. It's not about smarts. It's about balls, okay? I was the first government official in the state of Oregon, in the history of the state of Oregon, to refuse to certify an election. And what happened after that is that the Secretary of State opened up an investigation on me. They put out bogus reports after they fired me and we got rid of all the people. We wouldn't seat the new one. They sat the new one. They took control. And then just recently, they put out a report that just destroyed my reputation. It was a lie. And now I'm going to talk about something else because I'm fighting. And just like my friend David Clements over here, we're sitting here hanging out the last 48 hours together. I'm like, wow, they did that shit to you too, man. They did that to me. No, they did too. It's the play. We've all seen it before. When they tell you, don't be around that guy, he's terrible, that's the guy you want to be around. That's the guy. When they're all saying, well, I say about how, and then we're the Democrats, and the you don't want to listen to those guys, okay? Because it isn't the truth. And I'm a truth seeker. And when it comes to our elections, I want to know the truth. And just like in 2020, they told us stuff. They said, COVID's going to kill you. And I'm like, okay, there's 7 people in the state of Oregon at that point in time who died with COVID, of COVID. And they were all 85 years old. And I'm not trying to offend our great people who are over 85 years old. But that isn't a threat to me, and it's not a threat to my family. So I'm going to keep my business open. That's not why they did it. That's not why they did it. They did it to shut our businesses down. They did it to take control. They did it because they're communists. And communist is an easy definition. Communist means all power to the state. And right now in the state of Oregon on the West Coast, all power is at the state level. Your power is gone. That's what they want you to know. That's what they want you to think. That's what they want you to believe. But that's why we got together with Jonkus and Michaela Hammerson, and we created End VBM IP37. It's a petition to end vote by mail in Oregon. Right where it started. It started here in the 70s, in the late 70s. And I'll tell you right now, in 2026, we can end it here. But I'm going to tell you something else. Not one single elected Republican official in the state of Oregon has endorsed IP37. And that to me is outrageous. What are you doing if you're not trying to fix our elections? Whose side are you on? That's my question. Because I'll tell you right here, I'm on your side. I'm fighting for my kids. I'm fighting for your kids. I'm fighting for the future of Oregon, and I am not a politician if you haven't guessed that by now. We need warriors. And that's why I'm coming down here to Josephine County, because I got to recruit a bigger army. We need people that are going to have the stones and the courage to take action. Let's put this on the ballot. You know why? How many people here think you can vote your way out of a rigged system? All right, cool. Me neither. I put my hand down. That was just a demonstration. I don't think we can vote our way out of a rigged system either. But here's what we can do. And when you're at war, you got to look at what you can do. What are your options? What options do we have? Well, we can sit there and, what's that? We can be aware. We can get people talking, right? You're exactly right. You're right there. Here's what we can do. Here's what we know. We know that if this gets on the ballot in November, all right, we are going to put their asses up against the wall and make them prove that their election system is legit. And you know how I know they won't? Because they can't. And when we get Tobias Reed up there defending it, and other, well, if you want to secure elections across the country, you should have a model just like we have in Oregon, because it's the securest election in the entire nation. He just said this on X like 2 days ago. It had 2 likes and like 7,000 comments. You know, he got ratioed, as they say. But the strategy here is to get IP37 on the ballot because it pushes them up against the wall. The whole point about IP37 was to shine a light on who is who. And you know what? It's already been a tremendous success. Because we found out that not one single Republican elected official has the balls to endorse something everyone knows you want. But I want to tell you something. You have power. You have so much power, you have no idea. And you've been trained and conditioned and programmed to believe you don't. But if you can take action, you can go get one 10-line sheet filled up, and we're going to get that much closer. We got 60,000 signatures to go. We got 70 days. And I know we can do it. But it has to matter enough to go do it. And someone needs to send a message to our current leaders and remind them that people don't follow titles, they follow courage. So when you go out into your communities today, be courageous. People will follow you. They will get next to you. Trust me, we're taking the heat, right, David? That's what it starts with. Let's go, questions, why not? I got 2 minutes, right? 2 minutes?
So I'm on social media, and it was only about 6 weeks ago that I learned about End Vote by Mail, and I complained all the time on social media about our voting system, and then I see this only 6 weeks ago. Why?
Because our whole operation is being oppressed, and we're fighting through it. And the great people that run the Josephine County GOP has invited us down here to introduce it to you, and I'm grateful. Because that's what has to happen. Otherwise, they don't want this on the ballot, because everybody in the political class knows that the elections are rigged, just like we do. It's not rocket science. It's right in front of our eyes. When I live in Portland, I was born and raised in Portland. I was raised by leftist liberals. I have a business in the heart of the Pearl District, and I walk around in the heart of the North Pearl, which is the most prestigious, greatest part of Portland, and there's 48 vacancies in a 6-block radius. Democrats didn't vote for this. They're just like you and me. They want their businesses to succeed. They want to have security and wealth. They don't want this stuff. This isn't people. This isn't people. That's not, they're not, again, we're not, this is a totally different scenario. This is the government versus us. Think Tiananmen Square. Think Lithuania in the 80s. You're going to wake up, but are you going to wake up when it's live rounds being fired at you in the street? Is that when you're going to wake up? Let's wake up right now. My friend Todd Vaughn.
What do you say to the fact that so much more participation takes place when people can vote from their living room?
I say that's bullshit too. Look at how the participation is going down and down and down and down and down. We had a race, another one in Senate District 1, in the primary, in which a 5-way race got lower turnout than a guy running unopposed. Uh-oh, I got the angry Trump. In a primary. That's odd. Where do they go? Where do the ballots go? It's very fascinating stuff. Vote by mail does not increase, and there's no data at all that says it does. In fact, there's data that says it doesn't. But I'd rather have lower turnout and not have legit elections.
Amen.
I don't know. But thank you very much. Thank you for having me today.
All right.
I hope I did okay. Okay, good. I want to get in trouble, but thank you all for being here. And
You did
hit me
good.
up after the fact. We'll talk more.
You did good. You did good. Thank you, Mr. Ben Edtl. Thank you so much. Okay, so Mr. Sharp, I didn't talk to you about this, but I'm going to call you up early. Okay? Any minute. Okay, so our last speaker is about to come up and give his presentation, Mr. Kade, the young master, I want to call him, Kade Sharp. And but right before we do that, right before he comes up, I just want to remind everybody, or maybe tell you for the first time, our silent auction, all of our silent auction items, the silent auction is ending at 3:30. So you need to get any silent auction bids out there. You need to get that completed, sign on any of those that you want before 3:30, okay? All silent auction items will be ended at 3:30, okay? So that's about what, 20, where's the timer? 20 minutes, thank you very much. Of course, the Oregon Eagle always providing excellent information. Okay, so it's 3:10 p.m. Okay, so we're gonna have Kade Sharp come up. Let me introduce you to Kade Sharp. He's a young man who is bound to make a significant impact on the world, Lord willing. At 18 years of age, he's already, I said 18, by the way. Somebody told me the other day, Kade, that you were 16. I said he was 16 about 2 years ago, but he's 18. He's already an experienced public speaker. He's a graduate of Frank Turek's Instructors Academy. That's an amazing man, too, right there, Frank Turek. For your information, Turek is a compatriot of the late, great Charlie Kirk. Kade was a national competitor for speech and debate and is currently an instructor at Rogue Christian Academy for Christian Apologetics and Worldview. Now, that's important. If you guys don't know, I think we do. Again, speaking to the choir, it's really important to have that Christian worldview. So please, everyone, welcome Kade Sharp. Come on up, Kade. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Damien. There are two big rules to high school public speaking. The first one is whatever you do, don't go first and don't go last. And the second one is really, don't go last. But here we are. I'm hoping that as long as I don't say something that really rocks the boat, we can end this event with a success. So, yeah. Considering this is the last speech of the day, I want to take the time specifically to thank Holly, Arden Sled, and everyone else who gave me this opportunity to speak and who made this conference possible for all the work they do behind the scenes and what they're doing in our community. Can we just give them a hand, please? I'm relatively new to the Josephine County area. I moved here a couple months ago from the Republican stronghold that is Colorado. I like to tell people I've lived in both of the Gavin Newsom wannabe states because I was born in northern Minnesota where the weather is cloudy with a chance of fraud. So I'm still trying to learn the ins and outs of politics here, but I'm incredibly grateful to the wonderful people who have graciously invited me in, given me opportunities to serve this community, and pursue my passion of speaking and furthering the Christian faith and conservative values. And many of you are here in this room, so thank you. Since being here in Grants Pass, wherever I have become involved, whether it's been at our county's Republican committee, or now teaching high school students at Rogue Christian Academy, or just with everyday people wondering what I'm doing, why am I speaking, why am I teaching, I've been consistently met with a version of this question: how in the world do we reach your generation? You'll have to excuse that I find the question a little bit humorous because I've been asked it so many times, but I know this has brought hair-pulling frustration to the people in this room who have made persistent and valiant attempts to get the younger generation involved in our area, involved and passionate about political issues. And many of these people I have talked to have told me they have tried everything: putting on events, starting programs, bringing their grandkids with them to rallies. I was talking with one wonderful lady earlier today who said, "Hey, I'm heading to the Patriots Conference. Do you want to come with me?" And she said, "No, politics isn't really my thing." It's like banging your head into a brick wall. At least that's what it feels like, I think, for most of you. In fact, while I was preparing for this speech, I spoke to about 10 to 15 of my closest family members and friends in my age group to what they thought. Why are young people not getting engaged? Guess what? Nearly all of them told me they themselves had disengaged or cut back on listening to, reading about, or engaging political issues. And I need you to understand, too, these people I used to sit and talk policy and culture with for hours over a cup of coffee, and now they're saying, enough. Now, I don't mean to imply my generation doesn't care about political or cultural issues. They do care. For Pete's sake, that's why in Grants Pass we had high school students outside the county courthouse protesting ICE when Alex Preddy was shot. So obviously, they do care. My generation cares about these political issues. But this is a completely different world. My generation is dealing with unique issues and different questions, and if I could describe that feeling in one word, I would describe it as disillusionment. There is an epidemic of hopelessness that has gripped Gen Z and Gen Alpha. You could call it apathy. The feeling is, why should I care about what my local city council is doing or what the state is passing in legislation when I don't even know if I'm going to be able to afford a house or pay for college or live the American dream, and the older generation doesn't seem to care about the issues I'm facing? Talking with people today at this conference, they've asked me, so how do we get the young people to vote? How do we get patriotism back in schools? How do we have constitutional literacy? There is just a huge reluctance to engage in my generation in those important areas. Politics for my generation has become that yucky enterprise where all the bad people are. And all the anger and the corruption and the conflicting egos on both the left and the right is not appealing to young people. They become disillusioned by that. Politics is kind of like a performative blood sport now, defined by hypocrisy and tribalism. It somewhat reminds me, have you ever watched debates of congressional people on the House floor and it feels like it's supposed to be like entertainment? A lot of people feel that way in my generation, that this isn't something that's looking out for them. And in the power struggle of a polarized political system, most young people don't know where they fit. For some people, they just don't know where to begin in a world where truth and morality are constantly being redefined. So if you want to engage my generation, you need to give them something that pierces through the darkness of disillusionment and the craze of confusion that they have. If you want to engage my generation, you must move to something deeper than politics itself. You need to give them a moral vision. In other words, you need to give them a why. I'm going to try and tell you what I mean by that. Politics can and never will be the final solution. There will always be another bill to pass, doors to knock, or an election to win. And of course, that is incredibly important. That's what we're facing here in Southern Oregon right now. But what is it all for? When there is nothing more to politics than party lines, when there's no clear answer to that question, what are we doing all this for? You get what the great C.S. Lewis called men without chests. People who proclaim to believe the right things, but will do evil in the name of a cause. Unfortunately, again, this happens across the spectrum. And it's not nice to hear, but my generation is sick of this. I'm trying to describe the feeling that my peers tell me about to you. I'm trying to act as a bridge here. Politics becomes what I want, my ends, what I believe should happen, and it feels empty because it's strayed from its original purpose. For thousands of years, the term politics has been through the lens of human flourishing, the common good. And what's the significance of that? It means politics is a moral enterprise. Politics, at its center, is an answer to the question, how shall we live? Let me put it this way. Russell Kirk was a political philosopher who has been the most influential figure on what we today would call conservatism. You might have heard of his book, The Conservative Mind. Here's what he says, quote, "Conservatism is not a matter of economic interests and economic theories, not a matter of political advantages and political systems, not a matter of power or preferment. If we penetrate to the root, we discover that conservatism is a way of looking at the human condition." Kirk is saying that politics is not about the minutia of tax policy. And some of you are probably thinking it's tax season, you knucklehead. Everything's about tax policy. But hopefully you see my point. The idea that gets lost for my generation is, tell me again why I should care about this bill, about this candidate, about this policy. Here's why. Because politics has something to say about the way the world really is. It's that fact that has pushed every young person I know who has put their foot in the political arena to where they are now. I remember for me, it wasn't because I was thrilled about climate lobbying. It's from reading literature from my Hillsdale College class. People like Herbert Marcuse, Shulamith Firestone, Theodore Adorno, names that most of people in this room have probably never heard of, but they make up the political air we breathe. And I realized that these ideas needed responding to. There needed to be a why behind my interest in politics. So your worldview, your moral vision, what you see as right and wrong, impacts every decision you make, every policy, every vote. Every political question is a moral question. What do you believe about the world? It's the question of what is right and wrong, what is real. But that is the question my generation struggles with more than any other. Who defines what is real? The lie that pervades my generation's cultures through the ideas of expressive individualism and moral relativism is that it's up to me. I get to define what is good. So we have this moral vision, but who defines what is moral? Who defines what is true? What is truth? That is the same question a Roman politician named Pontius Pilate asked Jesus of Nazareth about 2,000 years ago. It's funny because after 2,000 years, nothing has changed. Politicians still ask stupid questions. But do you know how Jesus answered that question? I am the truth. Gen Z, Gen Alpha are craving meaning. There is a vacuous void in their souls. And if your politic cannot answer the questions plaguing the hearts of my generation, who am I? Why am I here? What is true? Then your politics can't bear moral weight. Like the Wile E. Coyote from Looney Tunes, it's standing in thin air. Moral order can't come from us. So I've been chasing around the tail of my point a little bit, so let me say it clearly. The formal title of my speech this evening was Christ-Centered Conservatism for the Next Generation. Why Christ-centered? The founders of conservative thought realized for conservatism to exist, there must be a transcendent reality out there. Do the words endowed by your Creator ring a bell? We are not Christians because we are conservatives. We are conservatives because we are Christian. That distinction is of utmost importance. If Jesus Christ is God and died for the sins of humanity and rose again, he gets to define what is real, not us. Really, Christless conservatism is no conservatism at all, because if Jesus Christ is who he says he is the truth. He is the way, he gets to define right and wrong. He gets to define our moral vision. He gets to define what politics should look like and what our very own lives should look like. My generation needs that hope and that truth more than anything else. If you get nothing else from this speech, please hear me say this. If you want to reach my generation, you need to show them the God that has reached out to them. He is the why behind everything we do. Both the left and the right want Jesus on their side, but the real question is, are we on his? What I'm hoping I showed you is that to engage the younger generation, it has to be more than more rallies and more events. They care about that, but you must give them a moral foundation first, a why behind everything they're doing. You must show them that it's not merely a matter of politics, but what is true about the world. And if Christ is the truth, it changes everything. Okay, but practically, what can we do? Well, first, don't check out on us, please. We need you. What I mean by that is not that you're not doing anything already, but I think there could be changes to the way Gen Z and Gen Alpha is being addressed. Don't stop putting on events, creating programs, dragging young people in your life along, kicking and screaming, even if that's what it takes. But real change in the minds of young people, again, relies on something deeper. It starts with genuine relationship, with community. Just get involved in the lives of the young people around you. You, not an organization, you. That personal relationship is crucial. Everyone in this room has a circle of influence they can impact. Your church, where your kids go to school, your job, perhaps you work in Congress, wherever. What if everyone in this room became involved in the lives of the young people where they already had the opportunity? Things would look so different. The unfortunate reality is that most of the time my generation won't come to you, so you have to come to them. Maybe that means teaching at your church, or homeschooling your kids, or getting involved where they go to school now. As a mentor of mine has always told me, and to this day it's the best advice I've ever received, bloom where you're planted. Gen Z is more disconnected than any other generation ever, and yet more alone. We need wise, bold, strong, virtuous mentors who will guide us, pour into us, encourage us, or admonish us when either is appropriate, and then walk the walk of what they talk. So what do you want to see in the next generation? You get to decide that. I'm not talking about in the rallies, even though that's great. I'm talking about the way you live and the values you instill in the lives of the people around you. Parents, grandparents, mentors, you matter more to the lives of the young people around you than you know. Be the example. Be a leader young people want to follow. Create a cause, a coalition worth fighting for, and they will gather around you, I promise. Really, just take a young person in your life out to coffee. Ask them about their lives, their thoughts, their struggles, what they're wrestling with now in a completely different age. And be patient, please. I think you'd be surprised at the impression you could make on them. And we often forget the impact we can have on just one person. In closing, you do not have to change the world. You don't even have to change the state of Oregon. If nothing we do here were to work out, would that change the way we should live? Absolutely not. I bet you can change one life. Bloom where you're planted. You are simply called to be faithful and to pass on what is true and good to the next generation, one changed life at a time. Pass a torch worth carrying. That can start right here in Josephine County, and that's how you reach a generation. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Kade. Nice work. Good work. Thank you. Good job. Thank you very much. Right on time, too. Oh, my gosh. That's awesome. Very, very good job. Okay, so by the way, I wanted to say one thing on conservatism. So Rush Limbaugh, I'm not quite a Rush Limbaugh baby. I'm too old for that, but I wish I was. Rush Limbaugh really started that whole effort with conservatism in a broad way. And from that launched Fox News, which now, of course, is kind of gone to the dark side mostly, but we really started a whole movement with Rush Limbaugh in the 80s, and we're bearing that fruit now. A lot of people are realizing, what are we conserving, anybody? Has anyone asked that? What are we conserving? If we're conservatives, what are we conserving? We're conserving Christian, Judeo-Christian values that have been passed down for centuries, and then in our country, 250 years, we're also conserving what our founders put in place with biblical backing to start this amazing nation. And that's really what conservative Republicans are about. And that's why we also have rhinos, is because a lot of the rhinos, they're not actually conservative. They might be registered Republicans, but they're not actually Christian, Christ-centered, Judeo-Christian conservatives and Republicans. So that's a big deal. Okay, so the silent auction is ending in mere moments, seconds maybe. What do we got here? Got to be really 2 minutes. Okay, so 2 minutes to finish the silent auction items. Everybody that has bid on a silent auction item would need to check that out, see if you are the winner of that item, and then pay for that on your way out. Something I wanted to mention, anybody leaving the fairgrounds, I know you guys from around here, you know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. That's a one-way highway out there. Turn to the right. Go to the right. Some people are going to the Mexican food place tonight at the El Burrito restaurant. There's going to be a get-together there. Some people are gathering to eat dinner there. It's a no-host event, so you can show up at the El Burrito restaurant right down this way. So you might want to go to the left, but go to the right, make the U-turn, and come back, okay? So just wanted to mention that little safety thing. Oh, I thought so. I never heard of El Burrito. It says that right here, El Burrito. So, La Burrita restaurant, okay? So thank you so much for coming out, everyone. Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you to all the donors. It's a fantastic, fantastic day. God bless you all. God bless America. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.